And we are live here at the Last Word Campfire. But before we get into anything else, I want to say this real quick. This past week, the world lost a true diamond in the rough. In the world of television, movies, and games, it's rare someone can bring so much to every medium he touched. The Wire, Fringe, John Wick franchise, Horizon Zero Dawn, and to many of our listeners as Commander Zavala throughout the Destiny franchise, we were lucky to have him as part of the cast. He was the true vanguard to the community and will be sorely missed. Gone too soon. Rest in peace, Lance Riddick. I just wanted to get that out of the way. Our timing of having the show last week was right before that happened, so we've kind of had a week to digest it, but I know none of us handled it too well. Travis, how you been?
I'm okay, man.
I know
Sucks.
last week that one hit you because you actually got a chance to chat with him, didn't you?
Yeah, we hung out for a couple hours, on camera and off camera for an episode of Fire Team Chat, and he was super awesome to be around. He was really funny, willing to talk about stuff he probably shouldn't have. His PR guy would have probably been mad at him for talking about, and yeah, he was just a cool dude. I wouldn't say a diamond in the rough. I'd say he was a diamond in the limelight. I mean, he was just, yeah, he was cool. I was also just a fan of, like, I watched a lot of his shows. He does a lot of like nerdy sci-fi, not just Destiny.
Right.
He was in a Comedy Central show called Corporate that I really liked. Yeah, man, it's a bummer. Nice guy, super chill, super down to earth. Loved Destiny.
Yeah. At his core, I mean,
Loved it.
people looked up his account and he was playing it the day before we lost him. It's just crazy to think that somebody like that is just playing all the time.
Yeah, man.
Well,
it's a bummer.
Just to give him a chance to speak on the matter, I will bring in our guests. So let's do this. Welcome to episode number 242. This week, we saw the Destiny community dive back into the Crucible in hopes of reaching the, apparently I miswrote this one. In hopes of reaching the Lighthouse. Thank you for a wonderful typo. That's beautiful. Brackus Forge has returned with Iron Banner, and even Bungie put out an article with some charts and plans for the future. So who better to join us this week than a Lighthouse regular and PvP extraordinaire? His competitive spirit was strong even at a young age when he was eager, when his early goal was to be able to beat his father at Halo, even if he did inherit inverted controls by doing so. Ugh. Halo Reach, Modern Warfare 2, those both honed his competitive shooter edge, while games like Super Meat Boy and Dark Souls pushed him to be a better gamer and overcome some of the toughest challenges out there. So let's welcome a man who has been to the Lighthouse so many times, he has dual citizenship there, started his streaming career just to prove he wasn't cheating, has streamed for 48 hours straight, a feat few of us have even claimed to try, a true hunter main who will juke you out of your shoes while still knowing to never take Destiny 2 PvP all that seriously, and has helped raise tons of money for amazing charities. No challenge is too much for this man after he casually swam with sharks and left unscathed. Let's hear it for Separer. Now I'm going to say it wrong. Sep.
Oh no, it's so close.
I know, so close. How do you say it again?
Oh, it's Separer.
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 How you doing, man?
Sepi. Sounds like an anime character. Separer.
Yeah, it was definitely a really good week for PvP. I'm really excited to see the changes go into effect, and I have like been begging for some of these changes for so long. I'm like, all people need is just one small seasonal reward for comp. Like, we don't need anything flashy. Everyone's like, oh, we need huge cosmetics and everything. So really excited for the little changes that we're getting to comp. Some of the quality of life changes getting to trials. I'm really thrilled about the changes coming forward, and a little bit of love goes a long way when it comes to PvP. We don't, we've survived so long without getting new maps and things like that. So it's quite nice to see these little changes finally come into effect.
Indeed. Well, just to get a little, indeed. To get a little background on you, though, you had some fun ones listed. You had Hollow Knight, Subnautica, Super Meat Boy, Dark Souls, Halo Reach. Super
Meat Boy.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna say Hollow Knight. I know, like, the final phase of that is just absolutely brutal. Sekiro, Bloodborne, Dark Souls. Like, you definitely don't shy away from challenge in your gaming adventures, do you?
No, I really do love the overcoming the challenge, and Hollow Knight was actually something I played a lot more recently. I just finished the I think it's the 112% run where you have to like do the true ending, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's an
The game's not
extremely
bad.
fun game. Its base game is very easy, but the DLCs definitely ramp it up quite a bit with the Radiant challenges. So I enjoyed it a lot.
Nice.
So for you, I mean, obviously you started out gaming a little bit with Halo as well. Is that kind of where your shooter stuck? And then also, are you still playing inverted to this day? I've got to know because that's just not a common one. People
I
just
do still play inverted controller to this day.
okay.
M&K, I do not. Yeah. So basically, when I was 8 years old, my dad finally introduced me to Halo. My mom said, "Okay, you can play in the video game where you're shooting aliens. That's fine. That's that's enough of a dissociation."
Patriotic.
Yeah, my mother's like, "This is okay." So me and my dad would play Halo together, and he would just absolutely kick my butt over and over, and there's nothing I could
Nice.
do about it. So I'm like, he's cheating. There's something that my father is not telling me. So I go into his controls, and since he was always like an ace flight combat simulator guy, he loved his plane games. He played inverted controller because it just made sense to him.
I can see where it
Translated
comes
really well.
from.
So I copied that, learned it, and then finally beat him, and then it just stuck. I just didn't stop playing inverted controller. It was always kind of a quirk. So yeah, I do still play that. Thankfully, M&K I don't because
Yeah.
I totally different translation. But yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. That's usually where I hear inverted from because, yeah, in the world of flight, yeah, you pull back on the stick, plane goes up in the air. It's kind of how it literally works. So that one makes sense that it actually carried over from your dad to you. But it's held on this long for controller. That is it weird to go back and forth between controller and mouse and keyboard, or is that this far in you, it's just pretty natural?
Oh no, it's just the way that I learned controller at this point. It's just completely natural.
Same.
Well, um, I did also want to ask real quick, being as I've done some pretty lengthy streams. I don't know if I quite got to 24 hours. I don't know if I've done one of those yet. You did 48 hours on a stream, like just straight.
48 hours straight of trials. I took two 15-minute breaks, both for showers, because yeah,
I mean, that seems justified. Yeah, I don't think
you'll
anybody's going to
go
argue
gross
that
in
you.
your skin.
Yeah,
But yeah, it was all trials. The just helping people out or stacking with friends. It was a great time.
it's a lot of trials. Any idea how many matches that ended up being over the course of 48 hours?
Almost 400.
Not
That's a
bad.
lot.
That's some grinding.
It was a bit of gaming. Yeah.
When was that? How
#gamer.
recent?
Let's see. That would have been last summer. So I started out doing these long streams, and I did a 24 and then a 30 and a 36. People are like, "Oh, you got to do the 48. You got to do the 48." And I'm like, pretty sure that there's like a lot of things that say that's incredibly unhealthy, but I was up to the challenge, so I said I'll do it one single time. It's definitely quite bad for you, and I don't recommend it, but it was a fun
Do you
challenge
have a
to do one
standing
time.
desk? Do you have a standing desk?
No, no, I didn't. But
Oh.
I did end up standing up for quite a bit of it and just being slightly mediocre at it. Having a
Yeah.
nice chair was pretty important to that. Otherwise, I would have been in a coffin.
Yeah, what was the hardest part of, like, I mean, obviously 48 hours you probably just went to bed and passed out, but like when you woke up the
Yeah.
next day, what hit you the worst? Was it like back hurt like hell, really hungry? I mean, what was the weird part that what was the recovery like?
Doing a decent amount of long streams, I actually got into a pretty good habit of keeping myself incredibly hydrated because that's the first thing you notice when you stay up is your dehydration hits really badly. And then I fed myself some food that would last a decent amount of time. Some pretty basic like rice and chicken and like things like, yeah, I had to treat it super healthily.
You went
Otherwise, I
healthy.
wasn't gonna
Okay,
make
nice,
it.
nice.
So the next day, the only thing that I felt was just truly like drained. Like imagine like a horrible hangover. You just wake up and you're like, oh, the sun. I don't want to move. Just
Almost
feel like you just kind of got hit by a truck. So you're like, all right,
Yeah.
today is just a write off.
how long
I've
did
never
it take?
been I've never been hungover, but I have stayed up for like days at a time, and I hear
It's
that they're very similar feelings.
yeah, it's quite interesting for sure.
Yeah.
What were you saying about this?
I was gonna say, I lost my train of thought.
Oh, it's gone.
Alright,
It's gone
it's
It's
forever.
gone.
Big
It just
deal.
vanished. It's no big deal. Yeah, so just, I mean, honestly, hydrate, healthy food. That's kind of one of the things you hear for even just like day one raid. It's like have some meals prepped, have plenty of water,
Yeah, take care of
stretch your
yourself.
legs. Yeah,
It
it's
makes a world of a difference. And the other thing is I didn't let myself have any caffeine for the first 30 hours for that. So it was incredibly
Smart.
exhausting, but I made sure that I wasn't going to try to overdo it on caffeine or rely on it or
Yep.
anything because that's truly just dangerous at that point, being
Yeah.
caffeine reliant for 40 hours. So
Yep.
wanted to make sure I was taking care of my heart as well. But people have asked me if I'm ever going to do more or a 48 again. Like there might be a day I do a 48 again. I don't see it happening, but I will not be doing more because that's just genuinely dangerous. It's not healthy for the brain whatsoever to stay up for 3 days straight. I see the look on your face, Travis, like you've done it a few too many times.
Yes. Yeah. I'm a fan of the crunch, and sometimes that means staying up for days at a time, which it's never good in the long run, but sometimes it's necessary, man. And you're right about caffeine. I'm not allowed to have caffeine just in general in life. So that's sort of shitty and then also kind of an advantage sometimes because when I have to crunch, I feel way more naturally prepared for it. Like my body doesn't rely on that stuff. So
Yeah.
when I'm in the zone, I can just stay up for as long as I need to. I don't get tired until I feel like I've earned it. It's
Mhm.
just the way I'm wired. So. Not for trials though. Trials is the hobby. That's the fun part. That's not work for me. Well, I mean sometimes it's work, but not usually.
Yeah, when it comes to trials, like I just genuinely had to decide, like, hey, I'm not allowed to care because if I put too much energy into the games, then I'm just gonna drain myself even quicker.
Oh yeah. Did it lower your KD overall?
No,
the
it was actually a pretty good
Really?
weekend. I think I played it like a
Wow.
2.9 that weekend.
I was gonna
Wasn't
say how
bad.
many matches you said you were like
damn.
what was your like
I
win
think it
rate
was like
on matches or something like
it was probably like 400 to 30. I think I lost a decent amount that weekend.
you say
You
400 to
lost
30
30
is a
matches.
decent amount. I'm like that's less than 10% that you lost.
Yeah, I mean, you lose some.
But he's in the upper echelon.
He is in the elite
upper
territory. Yeah,
echelon.
he's got a high bar.
Should we jump into talking about trials?
I was gonna
Was that
just
the
ask real
transition?
quick before
Yeah.
leaning into the Destiny world. We gotta know favorite class, which I think I know what it is, but I kind of want to know why it's your favorite class.
God, please don't say Hunter.
So, I do enjoy Hunter. It's it's just easily the most entertaining class that you can play due to how quickly you can get around the map. You can abuse the movement a lot. Strand's added a ton to it. So that's been very entertaining. I do play Titan and Warlock. I play Voidlock for PvP. It's just genuinely it got incredible ability kit. It's not very fast, but it feels really good. And then for Titan, like everything except for Solar Titan feels really good to me. I just never took the time to bother learning how to throw a hammer at a head. So that's pretty much the only thing that I don't play on Titan, but it's pretty universal. I make sure that I mix it up a lot more than I used to, but I am definitely the most comfortable on Hunter, just with how I can get around the map.
I was gonna say I watched just some of your clips and streams and stuff. There is something about watching a high skilled hunter move, and it will definitely make you feel like a normal person is just walking through like molasses or sludge because I do feel like I'm just like completely ridiculously slow in comparison. So it is
So
the skill gap is quite noticeable when you watch.
So with my gameplay, it's pretty silly, but I am very proud of how fast that I am in the game. I used to do a lot of speedrunning in Warframe, and then I did also speedrunning for Super Meat Boy, and I did do some speedrunning for the Halo Reach Lassos. So speedrunning's always been like a part of me. I've always enjoyed it, but I wanted to see how I could implement that into PvP. So I've found like all the different nooks and crannies that you can bounce off of on Hunter, or the different places you can gain momentum off of on Warlock. And I've really tried to implement that as fast as possible. It's kind of created, a semi-unique way to play. People always tell me that they're really excited to watch me like kind of be as obnoxious as I can on the maps or as quick as I can, and always catch people off guard because they're coming out of their spawn, but I'm meeting them there. especially with the grapples. Oh, the grapples have made it so much faster.
I could imagine abusing that and just kind of getting the momentum for just messing with people's minds and be like, hey, and you're like already just there waiting, big giant red dot waiting for their face or something. What is to go with the movement? Are you more close range shotgun type, or do you just get in position snipe? What is your kind of typical loadout that you feel comfortable with?
I absolutely play everything. I have been using a lot of SMG snipe recently just because the Immortal's been so much fun. Same with the Iclos being incredibly strong. That whole SMG kit in itself might be a little overtuned, but it's been really enjoyable. I do, of course, hand cannon shoddy a lot as well. The only weapons that I really steer away from these days is I avoid like bows and fusion rifles as much as possible.
Say that.
Anything with a charge time.
My God.
But I've played a ton with auto rifles, pulse rifles, SMGs, sidearms. They're hand cannons. They're all incredibly fun right now, and I really like the way that everything has been balanced as of recently, with the exception of a few specific weapons, honestly.
Well, I mean, that kind of takes us into Trials, which did kick off this weekend.
How do you feel about the Monarch hand cannon players?
Listen, I'll be in the same room as one.
What if I told you you're on the stream with one?
Yeah, well, you probably made me peek my mic a few times then.
I was doing that this weekend in Trials. My God, dude, it felt so good.
It's specifically the Luminarch just because it limits your recovery. Like any other bow doesn't actually get under my skin, but man, getting poisoned,
getting poisoned, and then I fly at you and just one
drives me batty.
Yeah,
there are certain weapons. So I always wonder this because, like with Iron Banner going on, just if I'm not thinking too much or just want to play really casually, I'll throw in like Witherhoard just to be annoying for points. And I always wonder, do you guys think there are certain weapons that Bungie could like uninvent?
Yeah, there really are. Yeah. So, for example,
Luminarch?
No, come on.
Really? Okay, so to be fair, Luminarch is an incredible weapon as far as PvE goes. It has a lot of utility, and it really shouldn't be taken away from PvE players. But for PvP, it's just one of those that it doesn't fit in nicely because bows do already have like a pretty good niche in the Crucible. So to add something that poisons, it's a little frustrating. But yeah, there's like how many times they tuned Chaperone or things like that. It's like, okay, how many times do we have to nerf something before we're like, hey, maybe there's like should be a separation between PvP and PvE where we like take a couple of things out.
Yeah. Travis, is there anything you would like to disinvent from the world of it? Maybe we could just separate and be like hunters, just the whole class.
Delete them. Get them out. No, I don't think so. I generally like more tools and more options in the toy box, especially when it's Destiny and it's not really serious competitive. I mean,
oh, absolutely.
It's sort of just about having fun, and so that's I think the beauty of that is that it's not Halo super finely tuned arena multiplayer. It's just silly. You earned all these toys, and now you get to bring them to bear against your friends, and there's something to that that's beautiful. And obviously, I want there to be competitive modes, and I want there to be a better, healthier ranked playlists and all that stuff. But the ranking of it is that how well can you use that toolbox, and what are your personal preferences? And I've been on a Monarch hand cannon kick for the better part of like 3 or 4 seasons now, just because it's just so fun. It's just so
if
fun.
you enjoy it,
okay.
I'm enjoying it.
Both.
And I don't feel like I'm cheating. It's not like the 2-tap walkaway Thorn days, right? Like you have to.
Oh no, it's not that obnoxious.
You have a draw time. You have a draw time, right? You have to switch weapons and optimize around like handling perks and.
It was an overpowered weapon when you could like buff it, but it's been tuned back enough where I can acknowledge that it's not unreasonable. It's just
I didn't use it back then, by the way. I didn't use it back when it was super OP. I waited till they tuned it down, and then I started playing around with it. I'm kind of a little hipster with my builds where like when something's no longer popular, I'm like, let's see if I can make
that's exactly what I did with Stasis. Everyone's like, you hated Stasis for like a year and a half just because Shadow Dive, and then I mained it for a year as soon as they like tanked it. I'm like, okay, now I'll play around with it.
Yeah.
And I'm like throwing glaciers on walls and seeing what you can do with dusk fields, and I'm like,
it's fun to build your own stuff. I feel like there are some weapons that get around specific things in the game that kind of irritate me. Like, I'm just in the same way that the hunter loves mobility. As a Titan, I like controlling the battlefield. I like people thinking that they know the map, and then they find out that I've changed the map or added some sort of obstacle that kind of messes with their strategy. And that's like peak Titan, right? Is control the battlefield, make their plan not go the way that they think it's going to be, and stop their momentum. That's the hunter counter, right? Just stop the momentum. I feel like some weapons get around that. Like there's weapons that shoot through shield. Or does the what the hell is that fusion rifle? Why am I forgetting it? The kinetic fusion rifle. Does that still go through shields?
Bastion.
I know it breaks them very quickly.
It breaks them quick, but
it breaks them and kills them in one burst. That's what it is. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
like the triple
it
shot.
goes ju. So the first shot breaks the shield, and then the next two kill them, which is crazy. Like I don't think it does that anymore, but it did it for a while. And I feel like there's a nice opportunity for there to be counters, obviously, but I feel like if there's like a core identity, like if you had a weapon that made it so that hunters couldn't move quickly, hunters would be like, that's bullshit, right? Like that just you're taking away my fantasy. And I feel like
Stasis,
there were Stasis, Strand, but Strand you have to be, both of them I would say you kind of have to be foolish. You have to get yourself in kind of a bind to actually get slowed.
No pun intended.
But stuff like that it annoys me, but I'm generally sort of just chill on it because it's Destiny. It's not Unreal.
Yeah, they've made it very clear it's not meant to be taken at an esports level or anything like that.
It's not, but I feel like there's still a place for competitive because there's people who really like it, and it has something that those other games don't have, which is it has a meta competitiveness, because in order to be competitive, you have to be really into other aspects of the game, and that's just like part of it. There's no, in Halo, you don't have to go and play the campaign a whole bunch if you want to be competitive in PvP. You don't have to like go and accomplish raids and do all this other stuff and be there for the seasonal content and all that. You just hop in and you play, and it's designed to be perfectly tuned, and it's 100% meritocracy. And I think there's definitely a place for that. It's probably my preference, actually, when it comes to competitive. I prefer that, the arena sandbox. But Destiny has something really unique going for it, and I think it I'm really glad to see them talking about Crucible this week and their plans for it, because I think it really could have a unique place in the competitive shooter landscape of
absolutely.
It's casual competitive, right? It's like this really interesting kind of hybrid that I think has a really unique role. So I'm speaking more lovingly about the Destiny PvP than I have in a while, because I had a very fun time with Trials this weekend, even though I didn't get to play that much. So it's a good time.
That's kind of what I wanted to go into, though, is like what was your guys' experience like in Trials this weekend? Obviously, everybody had a very specific goal, trying to get the new weapon.
What's funny is I didn't. So I guess I'll start, which is that I'm reviewing Diablo 4, so I had to spend the entire weekend playing that. And then on Monday, it started GDC, so I was covering GDC. I had to preview a bunch of games. I'm still writing stuff from GDC, so I just couldn't. I knew I wasn't going to be able to get the submachine gun, but I had enough time on one night. I think it was like Sunday night. I had time for one ticket. It was like an hour, and I was like, I'm just going to go with it. I didn't have a group. I didn't have enough time to LFG. I was just like, I've got like an hour. I could probably do one full card. And I think I got to like 5 wins, and then I lost 2 in a row. But those games were all super fun, even the ones I lost. And the ones I lost was just because I was playing with randoms, and communication is always so hit or miss on freelance. And I ended up with, teams on the first one. It was teams that just rushed the whole time. And then the second team, it was people who could not make decisions. Those people who just kind of like stand and like they're paralyzed with fear. And you're like, do something. he's absolute. Somebody just shoot him. But the first match I played, I went like 8.0, I think was my kill efficiency. And that was my first, Crucible match in a while in Trials. And it just felt good. It was just like nice. I was having fun with it. People were using Strand, which was really interesting because I hadn't seen a whole bunch of it in Crucible up until this point, and it was nice to see them. It feels a little underpowered, aside from the mobility thing. Like hitting somebody with the strand didn't really feel like the end of the world, right? It wasn't like Stasis where you're like, I'm screwed. It was like, okay, I could probably deal with this, which is kind of interesting. So, yeah, man, I just had a fun time. I only played one card. I won a bunch of matches, then I lost a couple, and then when the ticket ended, I think I played like 1 or 2 more matches just for a good measure, and I had a good time. I knew I wasn't going to get the submachine gun, but I had a fun time just playing, and I will probably jump back in next weekend that they have the submachine gun. I'm hoping it happens again this season.
It'll be like week 9 or something. It'll be like week 9
they
or
said
something.
They already said it's the last week of the season.
Right. So last week of the season, I really hope I'm not as swamped as I was this weekend, because it was really cool to see energy around getting into trials, and yeah, I want to get that submachine gun, man. Got to do it.
So as you kind of mentioned it, and then I'll let you go, Sep. Before like I kind of give my experience, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Fireteam based matchmaking as a solo player. It seems to be working really well. Like, I will tell you, of every match that I played, and I don't know how many I played enough to eventually get up to 7 wins, which took a little while. Whether it was like 15 or 20 or something like that. If it was ones, if it was solos, it was solos. If it was 2-1, it was 2-1. I don't think I ever saw a 3-stack the entire weekend.
Yeah.
Well, granted, I only played on Monday because I did a decent amount of the Diablo beta, and I had family in town, so I was like sneaking in like little bits of gaming here and where I could. So I was post flawless pool, which I know we'll get into that little discussion, but I still, just for the number of matches I played, yes, I got stomped in some, had the good teams on others, but overall, just the fact that the matchmaking in and of itself, when they got rid of freelance, it works now. I am very happy about that. So I just wanted to say that. And then Sep, just kind of wanted to get your experience over the weekend at more of a higher level for trials. How was the grind for it? How was matchmaking for you? All those kind of things. How was the weekend?
So the weekend overall was a huge success. It was a great weekend. It's always great seeing trials be healthy again and like a huge population burst. So we love seeing that, and hopefully it happens again for the shotgun week and the SMG week. I don't have expectations other than that because most people kind of already get their guns, but maybe more people will be in, since Fireteam based matchmaking is kind of a new permanent thing that's always going to be in. That system works perfectly. I kind of the opposite. I basically ran in a team of 3 the whole weekend doing raffles or playing with friends, and we didn't run into a single solo queue, duo queue, any of that. So it worked just how it should, and
Nice.
we had nothing but good games the whole weekend. The literal only complaint I have is recovs do seem to be back. So
really?
We had quite a few games where we're like, oh, playing against some people going for it, and they ended up being 0.9s, and they were playing at like 3.4s. And I'm like, this is an interesting thing because Bungie's made it very clear many times.
They've gotten good at the game. Okay.
Oh yeah, no, they stepped it up.
Leveled up.
Strand has made the difference for them.
Yeah, they went in that Dragon Ball Z. What is it? The time the time capsule they go in where they can train for 1 day and it's like years inside.
Yeah,
What's it
exactly. They went through their one brutal training session that they needed, and now they've evolved.
Yeah, I would wonder like what Bungie uses for analytics on that, because me, I'm a mediocre player. Like I had one match where I think I went 8-0, where it's just like the whole team just synergizes and somehow like I'm on the good team and somehow they like bring me up. But as like on a general average, I am probably sitting at like a 1.1. I'm mediocre and slightly above like 1. So it is, as you said, it's like normally a 0.9. He's playing at a 3.4.
Thank you. Hyperbolic time chamber. Sorry.
Oh, there you go.
I knew somebody in the comments was going to remember it. Thank you.
But I kind of wonder, it's like on the analytics, as you said, if you see somebody's obviously playing like out of their mind, and if they, if somebody does a recov, it's not one round goes well. It's like if 7 matches, like your average is here, and you're playing at this kind of level, you'd think that would be something that would be noticeably easy to spot. Because I know they really frown on recovs, but apparently I didn't know they were actually that rampant again. Crazy.
Yeah, it's just because of the SMG and it being the quite literal best PvP gun in the game. Like that's the issue when it comes down to it, is it has the most range of any SMG other than Shiro's. It has a better TTK, and target lock is a new perk that just is really, really effective on a submachine gun. So it's without a doubt the best gun in the game, and everyone wanted it. So some people took it too far, which I'll be interested to see kind of what the response is around that, if people get caught, or So it's always weird, but other than that, trials went really well. Flawlesses didn't seem to be an issue because of the fact that the population was so healthy. There's so many people playing the game. I only played against 3 stacks, so it went really well. I did do OQ with my partner on Sunday in the flawless pool, and that also went really well. It seems like the flawless pool, there's a lot of people now giving it a shot finally, now that they're talking about getting rid of it.
Just in
because
time,
of the
right?
fact that they can farm adepts on game 7. Games 1 through 6 in the flawless pool were dead. There was like a total population of 100, but in game 7 there was like you rarely ever match the same people. Everyone was just going for their SMGs. So I did manage to get my adept grad roll. I think it took around like in the 30s. I got pretty lucky, but I got over 60 I think that weekend. So
Yeah.
it was overall a pretty good weekend. And
So what is your actual god roll if you got it? And for all of our listeners out there as well, what are they looking for?
What they're looking for is either full bore or hammer forged in the first slot, second slot, ricochet. You can settle for high cal. Then rangefinder is a must. Target lock is incredibly powerful right now. In fact, it's so powerful that we would not be surprised to see it get nerfed pretty soon or taken off of an SMG entirely. Because on an auto rifle, target lock kind of brings an auto rifle into the meta. On an SMG, it's just dumb.
Sends it
So
over.
yeah, target lock is the best without a doubt, but we're expecting that to kind of get nuked. So maybe also go for a kill clip roll if you can, and then range for the masterwork.
So basically just maxing out the range and sacrifice everything else. Is there anything you would switch if you're on controller versus mouse and keyboard? Any difference there? Or is still all the same?
Yeah, instead of full bore run hammer forge, you could use the extra stability. It'll be nice.
Yeah, because I know full bore has some
Full
sacrifices
bore
to
drops that stability
Yep.
bad. Yeah.
Target lock is recent, huh?
Target
Yeah,
lock's
just
brand.
this season for
I think it came
SMG
out
at
last
least.
season on one heavy machine gun, and that's
Yeah.
it. And then this season it came out on auto rifles, SMGs.
Yeah,
It's
because
on
I
the
make I do IGN's Zura article every week, so I'm used to looking at perks, and I don't think I've seen.
Yeah, the retrofit
Target
escapade, which I've been using all season,
Mm.
or basically like since this season. I've had, because now the whole thing is making orbs. We can all do that all the time, and volatile flow is just sitting there and waiting. So in the PvE side of things, having a void machine gun that just like constantly has volatile flow going, you can just mow down an entire
Oh my
arena.
god!
Yeah.
So hits within 0.2 seconds of each, granting a scaling damaging buff of 12 point. So that
Oh, it
means
ramps
you
up quick. Yeah.
That means if
You
you empty your SMG clip, you've got like what 25% damage buff or something like that.
Depending on resilience, you kill the strand hunter super in 7 or 8 bullets.
Jesus,
It goes that
Christ.
high? I didn't think it killed the
Yeah,
super
it
that fast.
ramps up that quickly.
Jeez.
God damn.
Yeah.
That's good.
Oh yeah, there's
right,
the
well.
Hake high impact auto that's got the target lock on it as well. The Lodbrock, I think it is.
Yeah,
I
the
mean,
Lodbrock
that's
actually is pretty good with
Any-
target lock.
any
I thought it was
7-1
just a
card.
meme, but I did try that out.
Yeah.
No.
But yeah, it was really nice to. I mean, I snuck in some time, but there was good population. It looked like. I mean, I saw people farming this weekend. I saw posts all over Twitter with regards to did they get their god roll. I think it was Panda who had. It was just the one who kept popping up. It was like 50 rolls, 90 rolls. I think he had like 130 of the weapon drop and still trying to get his god roll. So it's like obviously some are unlucky.
Yeah.
But it is nice to see something like that obviously come in and spike the population. Now, had that have been on week 3 or 4 as opposed to week 1, you would get more of an influx later, but less of the overall population be there. I'd be kind of curious what the numbers are. And again, the last week you might get a little pop, so it's weird to see.
It would be lower. I think it's why they swapped Iron Banner in Trials, to be honest, is to kind of keep the Lightfall momentum. Since they were already getting a couple of mixed reviews, they're like, all right, how can we keep this population riding for just a little bit longer?
I wouldn't know anything about
I mean,
that.
it delivered. Like,
Yeah, it did. It definitely
Mixed reviews.
Mixed reviews, yeah. Don't know anything about those. No big deal.
Didn't hear about that. No.
The author of one sitting around the campfire is like, oh, no idea.
Not I.
That's crazy.
No, but I mean, that's when it comes to Lightfall, you are far from the only one. And most people we talked about this enough, but it's like if you look at the thing as a complete package, what's the new player experience like? What would this be? Where are the playlists at? as opposed to just like, yeah, the story wasn't great, but when you take in the whole picture, some was good, some was bad, and it was not their shining example of the best expansion, and I'm guessing they know that as well when they kind of take a hard look at some of the stuff they put out. Now, I wanted to save. Do you guys want to save this week's story for the end, or do you want to knock out that right now? We can just knock it out. We may as well, and then we can get back to PvP. Have you guys both played the story this week?
Yes.
Okay. Spoiler warning for anybody who hasn't played the story. If you are listening to this and you have not played through Season of Defiance up to week 4, now is your time to bail and go play it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. What are you guys' thoughts on this week's story? Travis, you had a little laugh first. I wanted to get your take on this week.
Sorry, I was laughing because my buddy Warren. So word up to my buddy Warren. He called me he called me a joybringer in the comments, so I banned him. So he's on a timeout. He'll be back in 300 seconds. But I just wanted to. No, it's just funny. He's actually super cool. We've been running raids together. Shout out to my buddy Warren. What's up, man? I look forward to hearing more from you in 200 seconds or so. It was a little weird, to be honest. I had a feeling that they were going to kill off Amanda from the second they did that cutscene about her. I was like, this is kind of weird. Character's been a really long time, and they're setting it up, and I feel like they didn't set it up super well, frankly.
Yeah.
And I felt like she died in a very odd circumstance that seemed completely avoidable, and like there's some other reason they decided to kill her off that has nothing to do with it being a good decision for the narrative. They sort of see you on the other side of her, like they did with our boy in the main story of Nightfall. What's his face? I've already forgotten his name.
Rowan.
Ronan.
Yeah, Rowan.
I think it's
Rohan. That's it.
Lord of the Rings. There you go.
Yeah, they kind of Rohan'd her in like a really odd, like, all right, I mean, go off, but I don't really understand the reasoning there. So I liked Amanda as a character. Her death felt a little anticlimactic and out of nowhere. I do have a theory about why they killed her. Do you want to hear my?
Spitballing is some of what we do here, so go nuts.
Spin metal hat theory. My theory is spinfoil hat. My theory is that they killed her off because the main cutscene makes it seem like she dies, and I think that probably in the original version of that cutscene where it was supposed to be the final expansion of Destiny before Lightfall got turned into what it is and the final shape got pushed. I think that she was supposed to die in that, and then they decided to make it ambiguous as to whether or not she died and then kill her off as part of seasonal content. And I think that the reason they had to do that is because the people who only play the expansions every year, they probably think that she died, and it would be weird if she showed up and was part of the story when the final shape comes out. And so I think they like wrote themselves into a corner where it was like, all right, well,
that's a good point.
It's kind of one of those things where she died to most players. And so now we need to do an EU explanation of how she actually died and like send her off for the players that are actually deep into Destiny. And so it just felt like a really odd decision, really short mission out of nowhere. The stakes felt super low, and I wasn't in love with it, man. I mean, power to them. I'll say this. I'm happy that they're making decisions in the last year of Destiny. Not of Destiny, but of the Darkness and Light Saga. I'm glad that they're actually making decisions to like do things like, the Saladin is now working with the Cabal and Amanda is dying. And like, it feels like stuff are finally happening, which is cool. But I didn't love the execution with this. And it felt kind of out of nowhere. So,
what about you, Sep? Where did this one land for you, or did it?
I think it's actually a really good point that Travis made. I didn't really think about the expansion only players. Like they'd be really confused if Amanda Holiday was just a part of the story next year. So I guess if they had to think about that, they're like, all right, how would we bring her back? And then they probably just decided it's too late. So that probably was kind of just an awkward thing that they had to do. As far as how she died, it felt really confusing. It felt forced. I didn't really understand. Like there was no like, oh, she's fighting this captain to keep a door. Oh, like there was no like thing that happened.
Yeah.
It was just an explosion, and I'm like, okay, so it's just a trap and like an unfortunate circumstance, and that's how they're ending the character. I'm like, so it was fine. It wasn't like it wasn't like Season of the Haunted storytelling where you're like gut wrenched, kind of like through the storytelling.
Yeah.
When they went through like the stories or the characters' past and like Zavala's past specifically.
Yeah, like Safia
So
and
that
stuff.
felt impactful. This didn't feel impactful. It felt awkward. I liked it enough, but it was awkward. And it didn't really make sense. So as far as that goes, but I did find it very emotional and heavy. The fact that Zavala was specifically the character mourning Amanda's death, because that just tied in with last week. Really brought a lot more weight to that scene specifically than it should have. And just thinking of like Lance kind of having to record like a scene like that, not knowing, you know. So it's just I think it brought a lot more to the events between Zavala and Amanda brought a lot more to the story than it would have without it. Without it, it felt awkward.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you guys where, I mean, Travis's theory about you would assume like, hey, ship goes down, like you see 3 Guardians kind of get separated, and then it looks like the explosion may get her, and she kind of dives down. Did she get away? Did she not? We have the seasonal thing. I mean, Amanda's been around for so long. You had the kind of Crow, or you have the Crow relationship now, where there's obviously some tension there. There was a little bit of Cade flirting previously. She's been on kind of the sidelines a little bit, and she got to be a little bit more forward. And as soon as she got to be a little bit more forward, figured out her backstory, being a pilot, wanted to be a pilot, not quite a Guardian, but wanting to, you know, be there with them and still fighting and just saying, hey, it's like, I don't have a ghost, but I'm in the mix and I'm as good as anybody when I'm a pilot. Like, her cutscene was cool. And then you turn around and get this week, and it feels like kind of the rug was pulled out from under her because, yeah, she's in there, you know, holding the cord together or whatever. And obviously that's like painful for her as a human, just taking that like energy, and she's risking something. But then when she's done, there's no thing that says, hey, there's a bomb that's going to go off. There's no, it does seem just this arbitrary explosion. And I know there's all the stuff with like Aramis who's saying, hey, Mithrax, don't go in there. This is a bad idea. You know, you're not going to make it out. And then obviously Amanda kind of sacrifices herself, but it didn't even seem obvious that she was about to sacrifice herself. It was just she's standing there, and then she seems to know her fate is coming, but it's like we weren't told all the information of what was going on. It's not like, hey, I know this bomb's sitting here and I can hold this thing open and get you guys out and it's safe. It's like we don't even know the bomb's there, and yet she does or something.
Yeah.
It was very strange. As I mean, you guys said, it was awkward. It was like, okay, that didn't feel, it didn't hit, it didn't land, it didn't feel like it was justified for her because she's been around long enough. I feel like she deserved a little more. But then on the other side, as you said, Sep, is when you get back to the farm and you see, I was gonna say Lance, but that's what made it hit so hard. You see Zavala kneeled down next to the grave with like the big Vanguard thing laying over the top of it. That's what actually hit. Now they didn't plan that timing wise, but that hit way more than anything they could have done with Amanda, because we're sitting there and we're like, we just lost Lance, and now Zavala's like kneeling down, just saying these things and just grieving, and it's like we're all grieving. We were grieving over the weekend, and then now you see Lance doing the same thing. It was this weird, almost too unplanned meta situation when you were looking at him do that. So that's what hit. But yeah, they, in my opinion, they shortchanged Amanda's character a lot. Now, I guess the other question would be, do you guys think they will bring her back as a Guardian?
I hope not, because like what
It would be the same character.
it's the same problem as bringing Crow back. It's like awkward because there's this character that you have feelings towards, and then they're just not that person at all because they've no memories, no anything. They're completely different. So imagine they bring Amanda back and she's got a completely different personality and no memories. It's just like back
Different
to this.
accent.
Okay, I don't actually know this character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I saw Data Butcher in chat. Were you going to bring that up?
Yeah. So that was an interesting line. Data Butcher in chat said this, and I thought the exact same thing when I was playing it, which is afterward they say, "Oh, we need to go after the people responsible for this," and I like literally I shouted at the TV. I was like, "Who?" Like,
Yeah. That
it
is the
wasn't
weird
even
thing.
I know nothing
just
about it. Yeah.
the
This season's
random Cabal. Those are the people we're going
Yeah, there's
after.
Shadow Legion,
The
there's
people
some
we were already going after. We already killed Callus. You know that, right? Like it's not like the Witness,
It's
came
the
out of
same
the
problem.
portal and snapped her neck. Like it was just some. It was
Yeah, it's the same problem Nightfall had. I just went like, it's a constant feeling of I don't actually know what's going on. I'm like, do I need to read something somewhere?
yeah.
Yeah.
Looking up
Are we,
videos.
are,
I'm
we-
like,
are we about to go?
one?
Are we about to go kill the Cabal's electrician? Is that who we're going after? That's yeah. It was very
Yeah.
odd. Also, if you're gonna kill her, if you're gonna kill Amanda, buff the chaperone. Like that's her weapon. The chaperone is in the worst state it's ever been.
Well, you love
I
that
know, it's
weapon, so
it's-
that's why.
It's finally bad.
It's finally bad. Yeah. At least do her the honor of making chaperone not complete garbage if you're gonna kill her. That's all I'm
That's a
saying.
biased opinion from a previous user, sir. But yeah, unfortunately, it's like season 20 and Lightfall. It's like somebody said what was going on with the writing in this season. And it's like, I don't know what's going to happen next week. There is a finale to the week, whatever Crow and we're going to go after. And of course, we never know if there's going to be an epilogue towards the end of the season to do anything. But it's it's been a weird season. I've enjoyed the Battlegrounds. They're a fun activity, but I'm still not entirely sure who's imprisoning them, why we're doing it, what's quite going on. It's not been very clear compared to looking back. Like Witch Queen, we had a short season. It was done at this point. It was 4 weeks, but we knew exactly what we were doing. We were going into, the Hive Guardians' mines. We were like, and then Crow had his idiot moment, and it was him and Caiatl. Like, there was some weirdness going on, but there was a reason for it. And then obviously the payoff was Brackus Forge and all of those pieces, and we got some cool lore from it. This doesn't even feel like, Brackus Forge goes up into the Cabal, gladiatorial pit or whatever, and ends up kicking everybody's butt, and all of a sudden he is now Brackus Forge and he's promoted and on the War Council. That doesn't feel like anything like that could possibly come out of this season. So I don't quite know what this season's going to do. It feels
like we're gonna find a Cabal next week with a name, and they're gonna tell us this is the guy trying to replace Callus, and we'll kill him, and then that's it.
Yeah.
this is the guy in the
think
arms
you're
dealer's
And
dragging
it'll
out.
it'll have not been any name that we've heard of yet.
Yeah.
I think it'll most likely be that, and if they don't do that, they'll somehow say, "Oh, well, the Witness is the real one responsible," and they'll just start trying to build like grudge toward the Witness, which I actually think would be better than what you're suggesting. But I think what you're suggesting is exactly what's going to happen. As I was thinking too, I was like, "How does this end?" I think it's just we kill someone, and then they're like, "Wow, we sure killed that filler boss during a filler season of a filler expansion of a filler year of Destiny. That was super."
I'm still hoping that we pull the
full
Mass
fillering
Effect ending where we like get all of the different like allies from every single group, the Hive, the Vex.
Yeah,
and
I was
actually-
I was theory crafting that in last week's episode. I think it was. I was saying that we've got Savathun, obvious
Season of the
champion
Deep.
of
Like,
the
I'm
Hive.
waiting for that one.
Yeah,
I
obvious
feel like it's gonna
champion
be
of the
big. Get
Hive.
a couple of giant
Yeah.
worms on our side, maybe.
Hell yeah! Well, the worms wouldn't be on our side. It would
No.
be Hive, light bearing Hive, but still that counts, right? It's the Hive
take it.
Guardians.
That'd be,
And then I
that'd
think
work. Yeah.
and I think my boy Asher is gonna get us a little piece of the Vex.
Yeah.
Snap me off a piece of the Vex for us to work with, because
And you can get-
Poor man's
Did you
sucked
get-
into the code right now.
Yeah.
Did you guys do the optional like secrets in the overload node?
I've done
quest?
2. I haven't done the ones this week. I did the last 2 weeks though.
I don't think so.
Yeah, because there's some lore stuff in there where they're referencing like anomalies within the Vex network and how some of their own are like breaking off from
I
Vex
do remember that.
orthodoxy. Yeah, and so I think my boy Asher is like a virus in the system, and we're just gonna have a whole bunch of Vex with the personality of Bernie Sanders on our
Oh
side.
god,
I'm
perfect.
very excited.
Would be
for it, yeah.
fantastic. Those
That's
voice
all I can
lines
ask
are
for.
those voice lines are going to be
Yeah.
epic. Can't wait.
They're gonna be Jewish robots. This is breaking new ground in the in you know,
And we lost
space
everybody.
opera genre. Everybody, what? Why did our viewers go down?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
so weird.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. That checks out.
But yeah, I will see what happens next week. But yeah, I'm not sure this plane's gonna get landed very well. If it is, it's gonna be a bit of a bumpy landing. Just kind of smashing into the tarmac and hope the wheels don't fall off is how I feel this is gonna go. Maybe they
I would just
surprise
like
me. I don't
to.
know.
I would like to restate my concern for the next year of Destiny.
I mean, you can restate it every week if you want to. The one
Yeah.
that actually sits with me, probably the hardest, and I was even telling my wife this, was when I went through and I read the GDC discussion when they talked all about velocity, just before basically for keeping a live service going. You can't have like every release is not going to be perfect. Like the train has to keep going. You have to keep hitting the stations. You have to keep hitting these seasonal releases and stuff. And then if things are broken, you got to fix it while you're going. And I know that's like very reductive of everything that was said, but just the idea of like velocity over quality, and every so often, like, just even the way every weekly reset, we seem to have something going on right now that doesn't quite seem to be perfect. So when you said you have concerns over the course of the next year, we both do for multiple reasons. But on a more positive note, we did finally get Iron Banner and their challenges are working. That was the thing that was broken at reset for, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 hours. The weekly challenges were not working for the first day. But we have a new perk on a weapon that some people are going after. Actually, we got a couple. So we have Jorm's Claw, got Incandescent on a Solar Pulse Rifle. Trying to see if I can get me one of those. I did manage to get a Feeding Frenzy destabilizing rounds for PvE on the Hero's Burden. There's actually a chance that, because right now Volatile Flow is a wonderful mod, or perk, I should say. I wish that could be a mod. I would spend 4 energy on that thing just for a void build because it's so fun. But yeah, when
Sadly,
that thing do what?
I said sadly an artifact mod, so we're just gonna lose it.
I know. I
Yeah.
kind of hate that they still have yet to take any artifact mod and make them permanent. And especially now with the mod system where it's less about, trying to manage the champions, and here's the artifact mod that costs like 7 energy. It's like, you think the mod is cool, find a cost for it, and then, you can experiment with the artifact. But if there are cool mods, I feel like some of those should stay around. But have you guys been participating in Iron Banner? Checking out the times with Saladin, since he's actually back officially this week. Last week he was a little preemptive.
I played a decent amount of Iron Banner on Tuesday. My quirks with Iron Banner have always been the same as 6s. The maps were designed, most of the maps in Destiny 2 were designed for 4v4, and having 6v6 felt good enough at first, but especially since ability 3.0, I think it's just too hectic for me specifically. I'm not saying like it needs to be fixed or toned down or anything, but like the amount of things going on, it just feels so chaotic all the time that it like, I don't know. It doesn't feel like a battleground that can actually like control in any way. Just feels like you have 2 options. You either fly in or sit back, and if the whole team's sitting back, then it becomes this incredibly slow match. I think Eruption actually created an incredible balance for Iron Banner, and I really enjoyed that. And I'll be playing a lot more Iron Banner when that comes back. But I played a little bit Iron Banner on Tuesday, and I just kind of went back to comp yesterday. It didn't land for me. Control, it's just a very old game mode, and I think I've just played enough of it.
Yeah, I know some people were happy that like, hey, I don't have to play Clash right now.
I get that.
So it's like some people are happy it's Control. I do. What is it this season for each of the Iron Banners? Because there's 3 of them is going to go through different modes. We're going to have Control. We're going to have Eruption, and what else was I don't even know
Fortress,
the other.
The turret one.
Okay. Fortress wasn't bad. Yeah, Control with turrets. Yeah, so again, it's typically a lot of Control. I did play a decent amount of Iron Banner. I have been playing just because I was trying to get my SMG, and I finally got the PvE role. And again, the fire team based matchmaking, since they took away freelance, working. I mean, with 6s, I was actually really curious. So like, all right, let me pull up the roster, see how terrible this is. It was like 2-2-2-2 in singles. I had like 2 3s, 2 2s, and like some singles. Like whoever wrote the algorithm for the fire team based matchmaking, perfect. Like I have not seen now. Population may go down, things like that. It may not be perfect, but I've seen. Now I don't know how lobby balancing is going to go. That's a totally different discussion. But the way that at least I have not been screwed by Fireteam based matchmaking yet. I've not gone in to be like, oh look, solos versus a team of 6. Haven't seen it yet. I don't know if anybody else has paid attention to that or checked it or.
Oh, I did. I ended up with 5 games in a row of there was a team of 5 on both teams and then the solos. So I just ended up as the solo uncoordinated with my team against the team that is just trying their absolute hardest to win. And I'm like, this is a little awkward. So we played around with how many people were queuing, and I think queuing with 3 or 4 people is the best.
Yeah.
And that way you can avoid the giant team matches.
The big stacks. Yeah, I did even see a 5 and a 1 and a 5 and a 1. I saw that too. It's like, all right, they're matching them up.
It's even, but like, oh boy.
Yeah.
These are the ones I don't want to play.
Yeah, that's probably where the skill-based matchmaking is not playing as much into there. It's just like, hey, we got 2 5s and 2 1s, put them together, and it's like, these aren't equal.
Yeah. It's like, this isn't really working.
Yeah, some wins, some losses. But as you said, like that is Iron Banner is the point where you said you don't take PvP too seriously. Iron Banner is where I feel like my body is just cannon fodder and I'm having a little bit of fun, trying to get some kills, hopefully get some wins and play the points. But yeah, taking it seriously is definitely not going to go well, as you said, in the chaos.
Because crazy.
I'm trying to even think what map I just got done. Is it Exodus Blue, the one with the like indoor box in the middle, or B?
The train?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's Exodus Blue.
Yeah, when you just say it's like they're not made for 6s, and it's like it is just utter chaos in there. It's like you don't go very long until you see something, see multiple people, 2 or 3 people come around a corner at you. It's just constant chaos, and it is always
I had
a little
an anomaly. I'm like, oh my.
Oh man, that thing's supposed to be really low in the weighting too. So
yeah, it only came up once, but I'm like, why even bother 12 people on this tiny rumble map?
Yeah, that's all sorts of chaos. Well, I think that's probably, Iron Banner is Iron Banner. We know it's there. If you got some rewards that you want, good luck.
For my part, I have not played Iron Banner.
It's good for free-to-play players.
Is it still the knight armor from D1?
Yes. Yes.
It is.
It's still there. That's still there.
Yeah, so I didn't get that last season because I think I had just grinded out the Iron Lord emblem the season before or whatever, and I didn't want to play more. But yeah, it's pretty insufferable. That was my experience with Iron Banner the past couple seasons. Is I just don't enjoy my time with it. So I don't know. I want that armor though. Why did they make me earn it again?
That's quite literally why I played it last season when it was Fortress. I'm like, I just want the helmets and to leave.
Yeah.
Shouldn't us legacies get access to the armor we unlocked?
It'd be nice. Yeah, it would be nice if I got some of my D1
Why am I
stuff.
reacquiring this exact set of armor?
The Scarab Trials armor.
Yeah.
Please, instead of the same set again. They're back with the Anubis set. I'm like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do have focusing engrams this time, so those are back in the mix of things, which is not bad. They're not too expensive. You will blow through Glimmer if you focus a lot of things, though, so new players really have to hate that system. Because honestly, like if you're like, oh, I got 10 engrams. Do you have 200,000 Glimmer? Well, I hope so. Otherwise, you are going to be broke for a hot minute, because I can go over and just cash in some currency or shards or whatever, and I'm going to be fine. But if I cash in a whole lot of focusing, like I did for trials for that, and then I'm doing it for the SMG for this one, I do tend to go through a lot of currencies. And, we had new players back on the show a little while ago, and I always try and think, I'm going, I can go over to Rahul and get some Glimmer back. Somebody else is like, man, I got to go run like public events to get my Glimmer back up.
Yeah, it's so nice that we don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, that's the moments of where it does have an advantage of playing much worse. Raise the Glimmer cap. Yeah, I will definitely say, random tangent, by the way.
Glimmer sucks. What's the point of it in the game, actually?
I mean, we've lost some currencies, which is a good thing. Just like your basic Glimmer cap. Raise the Glimmer cap. Now, Ascended Shards, I get it. 10 is kind of a thing that I know plenty of high-level people are going to run into. But at this point now, being as you're not guaranteed a lot of things in places, but they are giving you enhancement prisms in Nightfalls, in Lost Sectors, you are going to start swimming in those. The 50, I'm just going to be bumping up to 50 constantly. If I go do anything, enhancement prisms need a bump, like, quicker than most things. I know shards, like, in the high-level stuff, anything exotic colored is going to need some too. But now the fact that we're getting prisms more, just even an Iron Banner, when you get some of those, if you're wearing the armor, I just have so many prisms. And now they're abundant, yet you can't do anything with them. So, like a reverse currency exchange. Yeah, can I get like 50 legendary shards for a prism? I'll do the other way. That'd be nice. I'll go cash those in.
I got that. I don't know what they did to the reward system, but there's the upgrade mod you can get at the helm that gives you 2 engrams instead of 1 at the end of your game.
Mm,
And I played a Crucible match yesterday, and it dropped me 4 legendaries, 2 Crucible engrams, and 2 Define engrams. And I'm like, what am I gonna do with all of this?
yeah. If you had
Like,
inventory
it's
management,
so much stuff. Like, my
yeah.
inventory is always full. Postmaster's always full. I'm like, I can't delete it as fast as it's coming in.
No, if you live in the Crucible play, I had that happen too. It was either I ranked up or I finished the challenge for the day or something, and all of a sudden I get 4 drops. I'm going, what? Okay. I mean,
Yeah.
you're gonna have more autumn winds than you know what to do with. I've got multiple. I've had matches where it's just 2 autumn winds, a roar of the bear, and something else, and I'm kind of going, okay.
Thank.
That is a lot of the thing when you sit there and wonder about. And I was curious for you, whether it's like newer players or if you're helping people or others, with the vast abundance of loot in this game. What do you have any advice for mid-level players when they just look at all of this stuff? Like, is any of this good?
Like, what weapons to like keep an eye out for? Is that what you
Yeah,
mean?
just anything right now
So
that you're going to be like, say they spend a lot of time on Iron Banner. It's like, is there anything that they should keep an eye out for and other stuff that they can be like, at least that's a quick delete, and I know it is.
most of the Iron Banner stuff's actually pretty bad right now, which is pretty disappointing.
Cool.
They did a buff the Hero's Burden. The Hero's Burden's pretty good right now, but it does fall short of the overpowered SMGs, obviously.
Yeah.
Also, the Roar of the Bear is one of the best PvP rocket launchers. I've used it a ton. It comes with chain reaction, impulse amplifier, and max blast radius. It's just overall, like, you quick pick it up. It's great for comp. Really fantastic power for Crucible, and I swear by it.
So what makes, I'm curious actually, what makes it a very good rocket launcher for PvP? I know you said chain reaction or cluster. Is it
comes
the
with
fact that it can get just a bigger blast radius from all
So
that?
yeah, when you kill a guardian, it causes the second set of blast damage, which just makes it like a little bit more of the radius. You're gonna have that lingering radius, so it's gonna do like 80 or 90, which will help you get any follow up kills. Impulse amplifier, which picks up the slack and the velocity, and the fact that it has max blast radius. So it's also got decent amount of handling on it. So it's overall just a really great. Hey, you grabbed it off the wall, shoot it. You're going to get that guy you shot it at, and then you can move on.
Nice.
Because mainly rockets you want to be shooting at the ground anyway, so you need that blast radius and the fact that it can have so much velocity as well. It's overall a really great rocket launcher that a lot of people, they don't really think about, because a lot of people use GLs in the Crucible right now, but I find them not as reliable.
Yeah, I try every so often. I'm like, oh, I'll get my 3 ammo, but I'm lucky to get 1 kill with the 3 ammo anyway, so I feel like I may as well just use a rocket launcher. And if I get a bonus from a rocket, cool, but at least you're bound to get the 1, as you said.
Yeah. As far as the Crucible gear, Autumn Wind's not bad. People, they kind of discounted it because we have so many other guns. But if you're looking for new guns, Autumn Wind is something I'm keeping on my free-to-play account. You can get roses very easily, and there's a whole bunch of different roles for that. Out of Bounds is a fantastic Crucible SMG that you can focus, and you'll have so many Crucible engrams just from playing Iron Banner this week. As well as Frozen Orbit is a fantastic sniper that you can now focus. So there's a decent amount of weapons over at Shaxx that you can grab. So as far as all of the garbage getting thrown at you, there are some diamonds in there, but most of it really is just fodder.
Yeah, it does feel like the Iron Banner loot pool has slowly kind of dwindled a little bit when you've got stuff like, I don't know, the Immortal alone just puts everything in that loot pool mostly to shame. And I know that's meant to be the higher level playlist, but I feel like Iron Banner for a little while has gotten kind of worse over time slowly.
Yeah, Bite of the Fox even coming back, like it's good, but it's not nearly as good as like any of the new snipers that are meta, like Defiance of Yasmin, Beloved. I mean, Adored still kind of like stat checks it a little bit, just because Bite of the Fox falls behind a little bit. So if you can get Snap Opening, you'll be happy with it, but you might not love it.
Yeah, something like Occluded Finality, is that still better too?
Yeah, Occluded Finality is great, and that's one that's not available anymore, as well as Eye of Soul. Eye of
Yeah.
Soul will still just always be the kinetic king, and that one's also not available. FOMO.
mine.
I this is a take that a lot of people don't agree with because I know the Destiny community loves their guns. I am so for sunsetting just because of
Me
like
too.
You're in the right place,
I
man. You are in the
You're
right
in the
place.
right place. You're in a podcast with almost
I-
everyone.
We are pro
agrees with
sunsetting. We are pro sunsetting.
because I am so sick of like there being a new raid and then like everyone's like, oh, all the guns are bad. I'm like, these guns aren't bad. I'm like, the problem is this thing from 3 years ago is
Yep.
still meta. Like
No.
everyone's still like people still use palindrome, people still use, like, or Ikelos just came back. Like it's fine. I just I don't get FOMO. I don't get the whole idea of it. And the
Yeah,
fact
I
that
think,
like guns keep coming out and going away and
most of the people I've heard that have a problem with sunsetting, it's not about FOMO, it's about their hard work being invalidated, which
I just
I don't
get
know if
that,
they've
though.
played a video game. I don't know if they've played a video game before because all of your hard work is constantly invalidated. Have you not heard about the power cap increase or
Yeah.
sunsetting of resources and materials, or I mean a million things? It's like, do you want your hard work to be recognized, or do you want the game to be good? Because those are your
Exactly.
options.
There's
I
also
mean,
so
really.
many things to balance around now, and then like old things that you
Oh,
can't get
yeah.
anymore randomly become meta, and you're like, oh my god! Like when sidearms finally became usable, and then half the sidearms that were great were these like rangefinder rolls that don't drop anymore,
Right.
and it's like, oh, cool, awesome.
Yeah. So
Deleted them all.
Yeah. And that's kind of the thing is, it was Bungie's issue in how they put it out, and we've said that on the podcast before, is they tried to dump it in Lightfall when they put like a whole 20 weapons out and got rid of hundreds of weapons. So then you're
Lightfall?
missing
Beyond Light.
Beyond Light, sorry.
Yeah.
There was light in there somewhere.
Yeah, there's too many. They all kind of sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The final shape is at least distinct, but I know I'm going to miscall that too.
The Final Light. Yeah, I
The
love
Final
that
Light.
Final
Final
Light.
countdown. No, when Beyond Light dropped, I was for it even, and I had a huge argument with the other host who's not here, Cognito. It's like we went back and forth over it being a thing because he was like, they're disrespecting my time, and I'm just going, how long have you been able to use this thing? It's like, if the game is going to live on, and my issue with him was like, all right, how long is a long enough time for you to say? And he would always ask, like, what about exotics? What about your Whisper of the Worm? I was like, I had my amazing video, but at some point it's got to go. And I think the issue now is, if Destiny to continue to live on post Final Shape, which we have no idea what that's going to look like, if it does live on past Final Shape, and we still have 500 some odd weapons to deal with, we never get that exciting. We get stuff like destabilizing rounds, which like for PvE or Volt Shot or Incandescent, which is like, okay, these are new fun perks, kind of, adding a different way to do Firefly and spreading the like. There's slight tweaks to it, but their whole thing of saying, hey, we can make these badass weapons, and then we're going to take them away in about a year or so, they don't get to experiment as much as I think they would like. And so, yeah, we're 100% with you. Yeah, sunsetting, totally. I would be happy if it came back. If they wiped out our entire vault in Final Shape or something and we had to start all over, I would be okay with it, just because it's all new stuff at that point. You can't go back. You can't be like, oh, well, I can go pull out fill in the blank. You can't do that anymore. I'm with you guys.
Yeah,
and then there wouldn't be vault
the
issues.
The exotic thing I feel like is a little different because one, exotics are unique weapons, so they have a very different effect on the sandbox, and two, there's so few of them, you could just nerf them on a case-by-case basis. You don't need to get rid of an entire group of weapons or whatever to cleanse the sandbox, except for maybe Telesto.
Yeah.
Also, they'll never.
That's the one they need to
sell those.
uninvent, because I think Telesto's costed them more than an expansion.
I
They
feel like if
uninvent
they
it, the
tried to
game will die.
yeah, exactly. I feel like if they deleted it, they would be deleted. That's why all of our characters are disappearing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would bite back. I don't think they could do that. But yeah, I feel like that's a separate issue. You can deal with exotics and get rid of the vast majority of the guns, especially the ones that have started to power creep. I mean, does Cog get upset when he has to reset his power every season? Does he get upset when he has to reset his artifact and re-earn all those perks? And yeah, I mean, I'm exhausted by the hamster wheel of Destiny these days. But yeah, it's odd. It's odd.
Very odd.
Well, as we move to kind of the bigger topic of the week, since the TWAB was actually pretty small, they did a nice shout out for Lance. They put a nice thing out on Twitter. They probably said it better than I did, so make sure you go read theirs. There are
Yeah.
going to be master raids and weekly challenges coming out, so you're going to have to do the encounters in a bit of a different way to get your bonus loot. Master is going to be dropping. You've got your specific raid loot, which is still not Artifice, and I think that is a giant mistake, but that's just me. You guys think
Especially since Artifice is so important now. It should be in trials, raids,
Yeah.
dungeons. Like,
should be in the flawless trials, should be in master raids, it's in dungeons, but that's the only place for it. I'm like, people
Yeah.
like dungeons. I don't
Very
know.
odd.
Yeah, it's like I don't know of anybody who doesn't like running a dungeon. Those are like some of the most fun content I think for a lot of people because the scaling is usually pretty nice outside of just probably having too much health on some of the bosses. But generally, like dungeons are good. But then you're gonna take some of the biggest content they do, master raids, and not put. Yeah, you're like, okay, so there's specific. This is the discipline week for armor. I'm like, is it Artifice? No, then you don't care. It's so weird that
yeah,
it's not in there.
they are. I think they're adding enhanced perks to adept weapons next
They-
season. So
Yeah.
there's no point in doing the master raid until next season.
Well, the weapons that you get now, if you have good rolls, I think they said it's either next season or like the mid-season patch, one of those two. It's not yet, but sometime in the, either somewhat near or somewhat far future, we're going to be getting the point to be able to make the adept weapons enhanced, as you said. So if you do get a good roll, you manage to go in there, then at least keep it because you will be able to turn it up to the next level. So yeah, you could run it now, get the god roll, put it in the vault, lock it, and then when the enhanced functionality comes out, which I swear I read it today, I was like, I almost want to say they said, oh, here we go. This capability will not be immediately available when Master Raid launches and will arrive with the mid-season patch. And I think they're going sometime in April, so it's actually not as far away. So that's actually not too bad.
All right.
But
only
the
a few weeks.
the raid adepts will be able to be enhanced. So you'll be, if you do get the god roll and then you make the perks enhanced. And I think when you do the enhancing, you can pick the first two columns, but the third perk and the fourth perk, those are going to be locked. You'll just be able to buff them up to enhanced and level them up. Yeah, if you're one of those who likes to do master raids and want to bash your head against the wall, since basically it's contest now, I think, since it's minus 20. Good luck to everybody next week doing all of that crazy stuff. They also said they are trying to fix the jumping pads. Thank goodness, because I can't stand those things.
Yeah.
They're fine. On my Titan, I'm usually pretty controlled, but when I switch to my Warlock from my alt character, I'm awful. Like,
I literally don't use them on any character.
just grapple. I've really thought about or do you just eager edge? Which one do you do?
Eager edge, triple jump, or like Icarus dash or shoulder charge. You'll make it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of one of those where I'm just like, if you were going to do a flawless run, I think it would be safer not to use them, which is why they shouldn't be in there. But they said that people with higher frame rates could be unintentionally killed. I am running Destiny 2 at 59 frames per second right now, and it bugs the hell out of me. I'm like, I could be running at 120, but I don't want to die. And they're fixing threshers, so they are going to be work on fixing those soon. Guardian ranks,
high frames turn them into raid bosses.
Yeah. Guardian ranks, they're going to be pushing the Legend Lost Sector and Solo and Master Lost Sector from rank 7 to rank 8 and respectively rank 9 to rank 10. So the Lost Sectors won't be quite as high or as, early of a facing. And then there's still, of course, some issues. A lot of the movies and art this week was, of course, about Zavala, which was very nice. But on Wednesday, they dropped a big Crucible article. We got playlist, matchmaking, competitive, Iron Banner, trials, new game modes, lots of stuff in here. So, for our PvP expert on the show, Sep, what is your general take? Not today. What is your general takeaway from this? And are there any like major highlights either you're really excited about or did not enjoy reading? Like anything in this that like hit good or bad for you?
So map weighting has always been odd to me, but I appreciate that the map weighting is changing and they are taking out some of the maps that I see a lot of people dislike a lot. So that'll always be nice. I am so happy to see Convergence finally be gone. And because, my loathing for the map with nothing but 3 lanes, and that's all it is high. The love that's coming to comp is so nice. It's so great to see that we're finally getting a new emblem every season. It looks like we have a dedicated artist to it as well.
Yep.
So that'll be literally the only reward that people need. Like people always say, like, oh, well, what if we get like armor sets or weapon skins? And I'm like, that's all cool. I'm looking for something they can do every season without fail.
Yep.
Not something once a year and then you're done. So a new emblem every season is plenty of incentive to keep the playlist relatively alive, and hopefully it'll bring a lot more people into it. And yeah, that'll be really nice, especially with the fire team matchmaking that they added. It's made comp equally as fun as you had trials this weekend, as you'll never match a 3-stack solo queuing. It'll only be solos and duos. And then if you do want a 3-stack, then it'll be 3s versus 3s. And that is really nice to have. As far as trials goes, adding the extra loss to mercies on your first flawless of the week, really great change. That'll make it so that people can get their first flawless much easier. And I don't know if you guys follow it, but the first flawless of the week is the only one that matters whatsoever. If you go to the lighthouse once, you get your adept, then all you have to do is get 7 win cards for the rest of the week. And then while the flawless pool is enabled, because I know they're doing a lab, but I don't know if they said win. I didn't see that. I think that's with the mid-season patch. While flawless pool is available, then all you have to do is play on game 7, even on a broken card, and you'll get adepts in the flawless pool. So overall, that's a really great change. The first flawless of the week is the one that people are struggling with. So if anything to help them out more, I think is great. There's absolutely no reason to gatekeep that kind of thing. It's supposed to be a relatively accessible activity. The one that should be difficult is comp. I never thought trial should be comp. Trial should be this like achievement, but it shouldn't be the playlist where you're ripping your hair off. So
Yeah,
I think that's
like
a
it should be a
great
tournament,
change.
which is
Mhm.
different than comp because it's not sustained. It's like a bit of a sprint. It's easy at the first half and then it gets more difficult, but it shouldn't be. Yeah, it shouldn't have like the same skill based. It should be card based, right?
Yeah,
Sort of
and that's kind of one of the debates they get
Card based
into.
and fire team based.
And I kind of
card
wanted to
based.
get your
Card based. Well, I don't think it should have freelance at all, but
Well, it doesn't now.
Right. Well, I mean, it has the equivalent. You can solo queue.
You solo queue and you only match solos and duos instead of the teams of 3.
Just to me, I guess now trials means different things to different people. Like to E, it means like, oh yeah, I hop in and I just like play Crucible matches with randoms, which isn't that unique of an experience when it comes to Destiny. But my preference was trials forces you to talk to other people and you have to do call outs, and that's kind of like what trials meant. And so now it can mean that, or it could just mean
totally
regular
it's
Crucible.
lost a bit of its personality for sure, but if it gets more people in it and it keeps the playlist healthy, then that's it's a win.
I'm all for that.
A compromise.
But if you're gonna do that, then definitely make comp like not a joke would be my.
That's kind of what I wanted
exactly.
to get your
Which I guess we can talk about.
It took us 3 hours and 20 minutes to go to 10K this season. With it was me, Myron, and Rogue. So doing that in less than 4 hours is ridiculous, no matter the circumstance.
So you guys are elite, obviously. Getting there in 4 hours. Not a lot of people are going to be doing that. First off, for comp for you, where are you on the fact that, because they mentioned it in here, the idea of when it comes to what they use for skill versus ranking versus matching, they talk about, what did they mention? Weird things, smurfing and tanking and all those things. With kind of their discussion and their reasoning, where are you at with the idea of skill being used within the ladder ranking, like within comp? Or where are you at with like skill versus ranking? Do you think they need to work on their system? Do you think they have some reasoning? Where do you fall on all of it?
I actually like their system a lot for the sole purpose that I think ladder-based matchmaking is the best because it's just straight up 100% the same all the time. But their system does work. I do like it, and I have discussed it quite a bit due to the fact that if you win a game you shouldn't be winning, you're going to get 200 points. If you lose a game you shouldn't be losing, you're going to lose 5 points. If you win a game that was too easy and the game, did the best way they could with matchmaking, you'll get like nothing.
If you lose a game that you should be losing, you lose 5 points, right? Like
sorry.
That's how it worked in like Halo 2. Like if you lost to a team where their ranks were higher than yours, you wouldn't lose that much XP. But if you lost to somebody who's below, it'd be like, oh,
yeah,
we're gonna pay for that. Yeah.
So I think that system works really well. Where it gets misconstrued is that system for 0 to 10K makes sense. That all clicks for me. the part that I get a little confused on is since they have divisions in such a way that they do, and there's the promotion series. I was gold 3 last season. I started a week late, and I was playing against Ascendant players, and I'm playing against the best of the best. And my promotion series game, where I have to win the next
Yeah.
2 of 3 games, I'm playing against the best players, and I'm like, I'm gold, man. Like getting to plat shouldn't mean I'm beating the best players. That was incredibly frustrating for me.
Yeah.
And during that time, it was a lot harder last season. It took me, I think, like 3 full days to hit Ascendant, and like it took quite a bit of time, as opposed to, you know, this season. It seemed like, I think it was just because there was a lot more players in the pool. So skill based for the top 1%, it has a lot more people than before, when in top 1% was only a couple hundred people.
Yeah.
So since, you know, I think that's why it was so much easier this time. And I do think the system works, and starting out at plat made a lot more sense, due to the fact that starting out at gold and then playing against Ascendants, like that was a huge gap. Being plat and playing Ascendants, it's a lot closer. It doesn't feel as obnoxious. So
Yeah.
I think last season the system didn't work due to placements, and then this season it worked better because of it, but only because the playlist was healthy. So 2 seasons from now, it might not be the case. But I do
Interesting.
like how they handle judging where you're ranked and everything. I think they do a really good job at it. Since I also did it on my free to play, I wanted to see what it would look like smurfing, and it took 4 games. On my 4th game, I was playing against the same people as my main account. So on a brand new account with no history, within 4 games, I was playing the same games that I would have been on my main
So
account.
it kind of
It
established your skill pretty quick.
Yeah, so it's but
That's-
Bungie does a fantastic job as far as like figuring out where you belong. It's not going to let you smurf. People kept asking me if that's why I made the new account, and I'm like, these are the same games I'm playing on my main. I'm like, this is I got the smurf for half an hour, like, and it took me 7 hours to get a build to be able to smurf. So it's not even
Right.
worth it.
That's interesting.
That's actually kind of cool to hear, though, from that side of things, that it picked up on you that quickly. I mean, that's fair. It's like you could make a new account or something like that, and you're going to be thrown in the mix pretty quickly. I do feel like if you're in gold and you're being matched a little higher, starting you in platinum, that's a better choice that they made. Obviously, getting to a depth and then ascendant, that should be some type of a challenge. But if you're in platinum and I match into like maybe gold, what would 3 be the lowest if you're going 3, 2, 1?
Yeah.
So if I match into gold 3, I shouldn't be near you. It's like I should probably be a little more, and that kind of gets a little separation, as you can just straight up match straight out of me, which is good. So I mean, it sounds. Oh, so what would you? So for one, the emblem is fire. I gotta say that emblem.
The emblem is so nice, and the artist is so excited. I don't know
I
if you
know.
saw
I saw
their
him on
post.
Twitter. Yeah, I did. He was
Yeah,
pumped.
and they said that next season's going to be even better. And I'm like, okay, so it looks like we now have a dedicated artist to doing this every season. And I'm like, and they're very good. They went through the process. They have a great eye for it. I'm like, this is exciting, because this is really all a comp needed. I know a couple of people are like, well, it'd be nice if we had like a top 500 thing and a leaderboard thing. I'm like, listen, I will take what I can get, and this is a genuine like top tier reward. This is something to strive for every season, a reason to play. So
So
I'm excited.
exclusive emblem. Now they also said every other season we're going to be getting a weapon. So we will be getting a sniper in season 21. So you can get Rose for one more season for now. They may bring it back in the future, but for now, if you're looking for a good Rose hand cannon, make sure you get your comp matches in every week this season, because next season it won't be there. They also have a transmat effect. So for players who reach silver 3 or above, and the transmat effect will quite literally show your Crucible rank as you pop in. So if you get up into the higher ranks, it's got the big ornate, multicolored, crazy detail thing. So if you want to say, hey, I'm comp, you can put it on emblem, you can get multiple weapons, and now a transmat as well, which is really good to hear, being as this is one season after they rolled it out, and they're like, hey, what's the one thing everybody asks for? Cosmetics, and they're actually delivering, which is cool in the mid-season patch. Like, would have been nice with Lightfall that it was there, cool. Should they have launched with it the first time around? Maybe, since that was like, you could ask everybody what they wanted. It was the most obvious thing pretty quickly. But the fact that they're actually delivering it in season and a half, that's actually pretty fast for them, I would say.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
Now, I know a lot of Crucible players are still a little cautiously, optimistic, being like, okay, we're getting a little Crucible love. We're getting a little bit now, even though we haven't had a lot over time, but it does feel like we're getting Crucible articles now. You've got a dedicated artist. There's at least some love coming to Crucible, which is nice to see. They are also working on things like spawning um, for different maps and different playstyles for Control and Clash 3v3. They're working on better spawn placements, timings closer to your teammates, which is good. I was gonna ask you, Sep, where is lobby balancing something you face issues with? If you just jump into quick play, do you have lobby balancing issues on your skill level?
Oh yeah, it's real goofy.
So,
It's really goofy. So the issue that I have as far as that goes is it feels like I Bungie has put me into a box and they said this is how you will perform, and I'm like, if I go into quick play, I'm going to throw on an auto rifle and a sniper and jump around and have fun. But the game's like, but you're supposed to drop 50 kills or your team's going to lose. And I'm like, well, that's not fair. I shouldn't be having to try as hard as I can just so that my team doesn't lose, because it put me on a team that's less competent than the other one, just so that the match seemed more fair. That always threw me off. I'm like, so if I don't want to play just to win, then my team loses, and I'm like, at that point, am I being selfish? And it felt very awkward. So that's kind of why I stick to the game modes where I'm like, okay, hey, my objective in this game mode is to win. If I want to have fun, I go to Rumble, where if I'm throwing a game because I'm goofing off, I'm throwing a game for myself. I'm not ruining somebody else's experience, because the game really does rely on me to do well. And I'm like, if I'm going into quick play, I have no expectations of caring whatsoever. It's just, it's just a casual game mode.
I mean, if it makes you feel any better, that would make you like most players. Most players go into quick play with absolutely no
no clue of what to do.
they have no kind of responsibility about how they play. A lot of them are just there to complete bounties, you know what I mean? And like that's fine, do you. And if you're trying to win, like even when I play quick play, there's like a part of my brain that I can't turn off. It's like you have to beat these guys, even though there's no incentive to do so. Like there's
Whatsoever. Yeah.
none. Like you don't get like better loot or better drops. It's just like literally there's no reason to win or lose. And I remember when I was grinding Iron Banner, I was just sort of just like, yeah, I don't need to. Who cares? You know what I mean? Like let's
Those
just
Iron
hang
Banner
out.
games are ending like they were going to time, and the final score is like 3 points away from each other. I think I had a game go to time
Yeah,
yesterday. It was 137 to 136, and I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
like these games are so
yeah,
long.
very very long.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the time ones just
um,
drag.
yeah. So it's interesting. I uh, I generally am a fan of skill based matchmaking, even in casual playlists, because talking about uh player numbers, right? Player kind of whether people stop playing a multiplayer. One thing that definitely makes them stop playing is if they just get if they have a an uneven experience between matches, and if you are just straight up wild westing it, and all right, quick play is what it is. There's really no matchmaking system. That is not a very good system for casual players, and quick play is the most casual match. It's what people go to first, or they turn to if they're just trying to dip their toes in, and you don't want their first experience to be like completely uneven like
Yeah.
that. And so my problem with the system they have in now is I think that it's a little too strict, and their uh, snake draft that they do, where they put
Mhm.
you on one side and then player
Best
two, and
player,
then
and then 2
below
and
below
3
that it
are
gets
next.
way
Yeah.
lower. The problem is the gap between those is way too high, and I feel like you should still be grouped in with your peers. Like number 6 or 7 should still be kind of in your ballpark, you know what I mean? And I feel like
Mhm.
now they mash it together. I don't know how they do it, if it's based on regions or connection or matchmaking or whatever, and then they make the most of it with a snake draft. I feel like that's not the way to do it. I feel like you've got to get a pool of people that are roughly in the same ballpark. And I don't know if the reason that that's not functioning is because of player populations. It could be that they're just making the most of it what they have, but um, I mean, this is one of the things that scares me about Destiny the next year is they have so many playlists, and they just had one of the worst releases they've had in a long time. And I'm scared about what that's going to look like for the game in the next year. So,
Well, we're actually getting an update to playlists coming in
great.
the mid-season 20 patch. So 2 things happening. One are the playlists. So they said they're splitting the current rotator into 2 separate playlists. Smile on Travis's face. Both of which rotate game modes weekly. They'll be using connection-based matchmaking with no plans to change this for the Crucible Relentless Rotator, which will be Craft. I read too many letters together. Clash, Rift, and Zone Control. And the Relentless Rotator will be replaced by Trials when it's active. And then they said they have the Crucible Party Rotator, Mayhem, Scorched, and Momentum Control. Those modes are significantly modified the general sandbox and play very different. All remaining freelance nodes have been removed. Fireteam matchmaking is in place. So they're basically going to have comp, control, and then like the Crucible. They call it the Relentless. I don't know why, but it's Clash, Rift, and Zone Control. So that's going to be there, replaced by Trials on the weekends. And then you're going to have your party playlist and Rumble. And labs and privates are still there. So basically, they're just making control. They tried to put control and Clash together, and now they're like separating it back out again.
They
which is
removed
weird.
it. Yeah.
I hate this. I don't understand. They're adding a playlist, right? I'm not misinterpreting.
Yes, yeah, they're
this.
adding. Like you look at the picture and there's
Consolidate.
one more. Yeah.
Every other game does this. If there's a social playlist or casual, you just put all the modes in there, and then if there's competitive, it has all of the competitive modes in there. Why do you need specific playlists for one game mode?
I do agree with that.
I don't understand. It's just them just like they're
I don't know why
part their
control
player
is
base
separate. That one
unnecessarily.
confuses me.
Why? Why? Why?
And why is like why are
It's
the party
easy.
game modes not with the labs?
Or the social? Like if are party and social that different? Like shouldn't it just be quick play / social playlist, competitive, and then you have a special playlist like Iron Banner or Trials when warranted? Why are
wonder
there so many playlists?
I mean, that's kind of the thing. I wonder about the same thing. I know some people wanted Rumble as its own playlist, and I get that as like, it is a
It
good
totally
place.
has to be.
It
Yeah.
needs to be. Yeah, it's a solo playlist. I get that. Now, the question I think everybody would wonder is if you shoved like the party playlists, Flash, Rift, Zone Control, and Control all into one, and you go and you're like, I'm just going to play this. And then you don't know if you're going to get Mayhem or Control. It is going to definitely be a weird situation, I feel. But the fact that they have Control, Clash, Zone Control, and Rift like all as a separate thing, I do feel like that could all be your more quick play thing. And then the party playlist makes sense because Scorched, nobody takes that seriously. Momentum Control, actually, like, I always don't know why that's a party playlist because the sandbox feels different, but it's more guns focused. But it is a weird one. And then Mayhem's, of course, just pure chaos. But I'm with you in the fact that more nodes to click on means you've got different people being split into different buckets, which makes your playlist smaller. Which is
at least they're getting rid of freelance buttons because I feel like
that's
was
true.
even more confusing. And the only people who needed the freelance buttons were the players that didn't know that they existed, that would never notice them on the UI. You know what I mean? It's like the tiniest possible node for the player that needed it to be the biggest so that they could know where they're supposed to be. So at least they're automating that. I've always thought that was kind of silly that they're doing that. But if you think about it, the fact that they're now doing a better job at separating essentially freelance or unpartied groups from partied groups, that means that they basically have 2 playlists in each of these nodes. There's a hidden playlist, right? There's the hidden one that's dividing them.
I
And
mean,
maybe
yeah,
they
they're
can
trying to match
combine them when their backs are up against the wall, they can combine them, but they've got so many layers of division in their matchmaking already. Connection, skill, the size of their party,
Yep.
all these things. And now they've got 6 buttons you have to click on.
The
Yeah.
division between I don't really understand why Control is separate and not Clash. Wouldn't it make sense? Like if you're gonna have one basic game mode for everyone to play, it would just be a team deathmatch, and then like
I
you
think
have
it's
Rift, Control, Mayhem, or like all the objective modes and like
Yeah.
a playlist. If you
I
were
don't even
gonna
I don't if you were gonna do it, which I don't even think they
Yeah,
should,
team
but I think the
deathmatch,
reason
objective, party, like that
I
would
think
be
the reason they always put Control first is because to them it's the OG mode for Destiny. It's the one that makes people work together and it makes them feel like they're not Call of Duty. I think it's
it
like
also
an
feels like
identity
it's the
thing.
one that can have the biggest swings though. Like Clash, I mean, granted, if you get down, it's a little harder to come back depending on how it goes. But Clash is truly just, are you slaying out? not objectives. Are you managing the map? Is like, as long as spawn locations are reasonable and I'm not halfway across the map when I come in the middle of the other team. Clash always feels like they can be closer matches, they can be tougher fights, but that's like, you're working on gunplay. The objective, like, I know they lean on control so much, and the objective's not a bad thing to play, but the average person just goes in to shoot stuff. So if team deathmatch was the thing where you go in and shoot the other team in the head, then in theory you would have more people focused on that. And then if they went into, this is the objective-based playlist, Rift, Zone Control, whatever 14 variations of control that you've got, they're all going to be in one place. Flash sucks in 6v6. That's what some are saying in chat. By the way, you have a lot of love in chat. Sep, just FYI, we got Myron in here. Myron? I don't even know if I'm saying that right. Myron?
You can say it however you like.
How is it said?
It said Myron.
Myron. Okay, sorry. And then Crunyons, both. Lots of love coming your way. So they were.
Yeah, those guys suck.
But yeah, it is weird how we just got done. Didn't we just get done consolidating down to like Control and Clash together, and now they're splitting them up again? This did not last that long.
They got rid of Rumble too. Like they tried to make it as few playlists as possible, and there was like literally 2, wasn't there?
Yeah, because I think Rumble was in the like 6v6 rotator, and then it was like Control and Clash, and I feel like, and then comp and.
I'll be honest.
I think it was literally comp and then sixes for a little bit. I think there was only 2 playlists.
I get that some people like Rumble, and I get that like, you know, we've had guests on the show where like all they play is Rumble. And
yeah,
Lego. I get that there's but my problem with it is that free for all has no identity in Destiny. There's no other free for all modes. There's one, and I honestly think it belongs in party games. Sorry, they either have to throw it in a playlist with a bunch of other things, or they have to flesh out the identity of a free-for-all. That's what every other game does. They come up with a bunch of free-for-all modes, and then it becomes its own playlist.
No,
I think if it's just one mode, it doesn't warrant.
It'd be nice if it had multiple modes.
Yeah,
there should be a 6s playlist, a 3s playlist, and a Rumble playlist.
Yeah,
like
I wish more people actually went into Rumble just because they were randomly put in there. Like if it was Control, Clash, and Rumble, you would have one objective mode, you would have one slay mode, and you would have one solo mode. And I know some people wouldn't enjoy that, but every so often if you're put in there, you have to think on your own, and you got to be aware of everything. It's at that point you're like, all right, I have to pay attention to and it makes you more aware. I'm a mediocre PvP player, but if I play Rumble even a little bit, I feel like, okay, I'm watching the radar a little more, trying to play and cover more, trying not to be exposed from all different directions, and it'll make you a better teammate later on when you go into that team deathmatch later on. It would be nice to see, I don't know, Rumble is one of those that I know people don't want to go into because they're going to lose, but if you still try and do as good as you can, even if I'm in the bottom half of the leaderboard, but if I feel like I made a little progress just of my own skill, I still enjoy that, and I know that's not something everybody's going to do, but...
Need I remind you that it doesn't matter, E. Victory doesn't matter in these playlists we're talking about.
I know, nothing is serious.
You don't even have win streaks anymore.
Yeah, so what actually is the point of I get that, like, there's a very specific use case where there's like a group of people who love Rumble and they want to play just that. I get that. But if I had to pick between the health of the player population and the division of all these different playlists and those people having to just create a Reddit group where they can meet so they can set up private matches, sorry, I'm picking that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. I don't understand what they're doing. This is the one. So I read this like while we were on the show because I have had zero time to think about Destiny this week. But that was the one thing that I think most of this is very good. I'm happy to see these changes, but that was the one that really, I just don't get what their strategy is here. People are complaining. Because here's the reason I think it matters. Because I feel like we're going to have something happen like the weapon sunsetting thing, where skill-based matchmaking gets axed again, and then everybody goes, oh, they finally are going back because it was a bad idea. And then everybody who actually knows anything about the games industry or matchmaking and how it works says, no, it's that they did it wrong, that they didn't actually create an ecosystem to support that thing, because that's exactly what happened with matchmaking or with sunsetting. Is it wasn't sunsetting as a bad idea. It was the way that they did it was the worst possible way. And so I have this worry that people are going to go, oh, like we've seen some of it already. Like, oh, connection, my connection's so bad, my game, I see all this lag and stuff like that, and they're blaming skill-based matchmaking as the reason for it. By my money, the way they have their playlists organized is a way bigger problem than skill-based matchmaking. Because if you consolidate playlists, you can do a lot more with your matchmaking, all the different ways you're dicing it.
Yeah.
But I don't think you can do that with this system that they have, and it makes no sense to me.
So for you, Sep, I wanted to ask, like, when it comes, what would you? Is there a certain playlist setup that would annoy you? Like if it was too much variety in your quick play button? I mean, you said you typically go to comp most of the time because you don't want to go into the chaos of sixes. So would you like sixes, threes, and ones, or where would you like to see? What's the dream
Yeah,
setup for you since you are living in this thing a lot?
yeah, I think having just literally sixes, threes, and ones would be great. I think if Rumble got more love, like Travis said, that would be great, and that way there were a couple of different game modes and like a reason to try it. I think people really steer away from free for all, but free for all playlists are a great way to improve yourself because it really is just you getting more comfortable in these maps by yourself as opposed to being reliant or hiding or anything like that. So get a lot
Exotic gun
more
game.
aware. Yeah. And then I think you can mix party modes in with sixes because sixes aren't meant to be taken seriously in the first place. So like,
Exactly.
what's wrong with having a controller or clash match and then going into a mayhem match? You're not supposed to be in there like doing your absolute best just to win every single game. You're supposed to be in there because you want a casual game mode to play. So there's nothing wrong with it being, a little bit more
Yeah.
mixed in.
Yeah, and if it's a social playlist or quick play, and you were with a group of 4 people, you don't have any incentive to like gang up on the 2 people that aren't in your party or anything like that. It's not like there's like a mechanical reason to do it. It would be the people who are in the party laughing as they kill each other, the 2 other people who are not in the party, the randoms, just also being part of that game mode, and then afterward you get a new playlist. There's also another way around this, which is that you can have people vote. Lots of games do that. They have voting mechanics where you can vote on the map or the
Map,
playlist.
That would be so
community.
nice to have. Yeah, people asked
Yeah,
for
the
that for a while. I gave up on that like
combination of
5 years
the
ago.
Yeah.
I know. Like these are things, but like that there's ways to solve this stuff, and I really, really do not get their strategy. But I'm gonna stop being negative about PvP because they've done a lot of other stuff that makes me feel like maybe they're not giving up on it. Because if you would ask me at the beginning of Nightfall what I thought about PvP, I'd be like, it's dead, dude. They have no interest in sustaining this thing. But this inspired some confidence in me. So I'm Bungie. I'm happy with all the stuff on this. It's great. I really think you need to think about consolidating this. There's got to be a
Because
better
in
way.
reality, it's just going to be everyone plays control and nothing but control. And then some people will go into the party playlist just because they want to complete some bounties and it's a little more fun. And then Crucible Labs will die.
It always dies because it's not used properly. It's like they're always like, hey, Trials
That's
is up
the
every
junk
weekend.
playlist. Yeah, it's supposed to be like, hey, we're going to test a couple of like game modes or settings out in here. And like, you guys should go like, but instead it's just like, hey, this is where Clash and Rift are to die. No
Yeah.
players are here.
Yeah, it does seem weird. I mean, as you said, Travis, like a lot of this, I read through a lot of it and I was like, this is generally pretty good. Splitting the playlists when you just put them together is it's sometimes, I know sometimes they make data-driven decisions, but sometimes they also don't let things bake long enough. They don't let
Yeah.
things settle. So, I
It
mean,
feels like that at least. Yeah.
sunsetting is one of those that I feel like they walked back because, but that was, a reaction to, it was a reaction to the reaction of the community. It wasn't a reaction to like, hey, the fact that we didn't implement this well, we need more time to develop more weapons, it will get there. And that would have been the defense that some people would have been not happy about, but they could have at least dealt with, as opposed to, we're walking it back. And now they can't redo it again, as opposed to sticking with it. And then this one, like you said, they could mess with the playlist again, but now if they split them apart, then you have that issue as well. The comp stuff's cool. A lot of the quality of life, fire team-based matchmaking seems to be working really well. Like all the
Just
splits
cool.
and percentages look to be really, really solid generally across the board.
I'm glad they are trying out Countdown. And they'll put that in the labs playlist here like later in the season. That'll be nice.
Yeah.
See Countdown come back and Countdown Rush as well.
Yeah, Countdown Rush, Countdown, and then Checkmate. The new set of game rules intends to create a slower paced experience where players have more opportunity to react to encounters where power spikes are earned rather than guaranteed. So that's a completely different game mode they said they're looking at there, where it's like how special ammo is acquired, ability charge rates, weapon TTK, player health settings. They said looking for season 22 for that one. And they said checkmate's basically a modifier they will use, so it could theoretically be applied to momentum or mayhem or other things. So I'm curious what checkmate is. I know a lot of people, and I guess Sep, I wanted to ask you, every so often on Twitter I see this random ask and be like, can we just have like a guns mode only? Would you want that in Destiny?
Yeah, sure, why not? Yeah, let's just try it. A bare bones where all you have is your jump and guns, and that's it.
Yeah.
You could even
Wouldn't-
I mean, they already put the Forerunner frag grenade in. Just give everyone the frag grenade.
Everybody has one type of grenade, and everybody has,
I
but you could
guess
use their weapons.
My problem with that proposal is, I don't know if the okay. I actually know what, I'm not going to speak out against it because I just want them to try new shit with multiplayer modes. I've been talking
Exactly. It
about that
doesn't.
with-
It
I've- I've- you know, I've
probably
been
would.
talking-
It
I've been
probably
talking
would
about-
be bad,
yeah.
but I mean, it doesn't
I've
matter
been
if it's
talking
bad.
about I've been talking about variety way too much to shut this down or criticize it. So I'm just gonna let it ride. You're right. So
Even if it's bad, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I still am a fan of Oops All Exotics. I still think that needs to.
I want
exist.
exotic gun game because that's the one I'm praying for.
Exotic gun game would be amazing, and I there's no reason to not do it. They have Mayhem. Mayhem is such an unbalanced mode. Like none of it makes sense. So like, why would you be afraid of? They just
you rotate through a couple rocket launchers, swords. You got like pulses. Everybody's got to use a sniper at some point. Sidearms. You have every different gun type in there. Yeah. Everybody's got to play a little bit different. Nobody's going to be good at everything. Last thing you got to kill them with is just a melee punch or something. Then you back up. Shout out to Necromancer Zeal again with the $5 super chat. I would love a mode with just primary weapons. See, some people would enjoy that. And again, I feel like if that was
Vostok, all Vostok, that would be great. It's just Call of Duty.
Yeah, no limits on exotics. You have 3 exotics and then 5 exotic pieces of armor. Just break the game. I mean, I wish they would truly just say, "Hey, utter chaos. You can equip everything. Go nuts." I think it would be fun for them to do that just to see how much they would let the experiment go, because as you said, it's more about the variety. Exotic gun game, just guns only. You know, we have mayhem with just abilities. There's potential in a lot of these places, and they never tap into it. It's always like, here's a slight shift out of the box of control again, and I'm going, try something else. I mean, I know we got Rift is at least like capture the flag, kind of, but not wholly. But it's kind of their own taste on. I always feel there are some very obvious game modes that they just don't want. They always feel like they have to make up their own. I'm like, some of this stuff is fun on its own.
Yeah. King of the Hill would be nice.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Just if King of the Hill was like constantly moving as well.
It would have to be Rumble.
Or like
Sure.
I mean, I'd love to see them do trios, like 3 versus 3 versus 3. Mess with the team
I've been saying
sizes.
that for a long time.
That was like you said that, multi-team. And that, well, if you said King of the Hill,
years.
you could do 6 people, but you could do duos. So you could do since the maps are smaller, I feel like that might kind of work. Let me just.
I'd love to have a playlist where there's 6 to 8 players and it's just teams of 2. I think that'd be great.
Yeah, I think that I've said this for a long time, but I think that that's what they should have done to preserve the Valentine's Day event.
Yeah.
Because the problem with that mode is duos isn't particularly exciting in Destiny. But if it were
very slow when it's 4
very
people.
slow, but if it was duos with 4 teams,
that's gonna be pretty speedy. See, these are
because that's a draw, because that's like a mode that doesn't exist anywhere else. We don't have multi-team game modes in Destiny.
I don't know if that's a hard thing to program against, but I mean, there's so much chaos going on in Mayhem. I feel like 4 teams of 2 shooting guns cannot be the end of the world for some of these.
By the way, Shut-Eyed Bandit, 2 things. This guy's saying bring back SRL, which I mean everybody agrees with that holistically, but practically it's never going to happen because of Bungie's team and the stuff that they're working on.
I was like, if you got SRL back before you got PvP maps, before Gambit got
people
touched,
would lose their mind.
Yeah, like there's so many other things that are higher priority, unfortunately.
2 things, Shut-Eyed Bandit. 1, that would have to be a Rumble mode. Okay. because it is actually free for all mode.
Yep.
Second of all, it is technically PvP PvE, so it should be under the Gambit playlist.
Why is it
Sorry,
PvE?
guys.
The environment blowing you up? Or no,
No,
once you run
there's
into that
enemies.
forklift. Oh,
There's enemies. They shoot at you. Don't forget that about SRL. There were bad guys in those maps.
I think the biggest enemy was that forklift in the middle of whatever map that was. That was always brutal.
I don't remember that, but yeah, that mode was hilarious. Yeah, I just wanted. I mean, we've talked about this a million times on the show, but yeah.
Man, Fiesta game mode in Destiny with how many guns there are.
Woo! That would be crazy.
That would be impossible to code, but like there's so many variety.
Yeah.
Just a few thousand guns with a few million perk rolls, all good. But Bungie can handle it.
Yeah, no big deal. Yeah. I mean, a lot of this is, as we said, it's like it's a step in the right direction. It's a little cautious optimism to say, hey, there is some focus on PvP. There's a dedicated artist for the comp playlist. You've got a transmat effect. You've got bi-seasonal weapons alone for comp. That's better than I thought we were going to see in a season and a half. So, I mean, we're doing pretty good there. And then the fact that, we've got a couple maps. The map design speed is the one question I have.
It's brutally slow in comparison to how other games or how Bungie used to do it, and that's the problem, is the comparison contrast, right?
Yep.
Is we didn't get a map for 3 years, and then we got one, and then nobody liked it, and now we're getting one more.
Yeah, the Vex network.
I don't know if they have PvP map designers. I know there's a lot of their PvP people working on a different game, so I don't know what the hell's going on.
That feels like what it has to be at this point, is like the entire PvP collective of Bungie shifted to that other game that we probably won't hear about for a couple of years. But it feels like they all had to go there. But it doesn't make any sense otherwise to me.
I feel like we're about like 8 new maps deep in need for Crucible right now.
Yeah, I mean there's
so many maps that like are out of rotation that people have never played. Like there are so many new Destiny players that have never played some of these maps. That Emperors or Spite.
Yeah,
I brought that up on stream the other day, and people had no idea what I was talking about.
You're like, the ship, the one of the Leviathan, and there's plenty of people even who are PvE players are like, "What's the Leviathan?
What's the Leviathan?" Yeah,
yeah.
Although
that's been in and out of the game twice.
That map did legitimately suck. It
sucked at the time. I think it would be fine right now.
Was it Control, the one where one was hella far away?
Yeah,
and it was like really unbearable.
It did genuinely suck, but I think with just a couple of updates and then having it as like a basic mode, or have it as Rumble or Trials, or I think it'd be fine.
Yeah, Shut-Eyed Ben, you're popping off here in the comments because I also agree about vehicle combat. So I have this theory that that Destiny, when they announced Destiny's PvP, it was supposed to be much more like Halo's like big team battle, where there were like vehicles and stuff like that, and there's going to be all this interplay with large stuff on the battlefield. And then I think at some point that just got cut. They were like, we're working on other stuff, and they took out all those maps, or took out the vehicles at least, and it just sort of became this relic of what would have been Destiny. And I think ever since then, PvP has been lost. I think as soon as they changed that very like fundamental thing about Destiny, they've tried to refurbish it. They did trials during the House of Wolves period of the game, and I just think I've said this on this show before, but all the big maps and the designs they have, I'm willing to bet the team they had was no longer the team they needed to make Destiny PvP, because if you hire a team of PvP people and they're big map design, interplay with vehicles, like all that stuff, and then you tell them, okay, that's no longer in the game, now you need to make 4v4 matches that are like really tight and have like lanes and stuff, that's like a completely different skill set. That's like a really big shift. So I've always felt like they missed the mark initially, or made a change, and they've never really recovered from that, like ever. That's just what it feels like to me.
Yeah,
Bungie's definitely been at a throw everything against the wall and see what sticks for a while.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like we're actually headed in a direction. It just feels like they're seeing what works right now.
Yep. Yeah, that's pretty much, that's why Crucible Labs has some stuff that nobody touches, but yeah, it does feel like random stuff that, I mean, we've had multiple PvP guests on stream just to talk about, hey, what could possibly be good for the PvP world? And we can come up with some ideas. Feels like some of these could be experiments. I don't know how hard they are to develop. Like, I don't know how hard multi-team is to develop. But over the course of all these years, it feels like some of this stuff could have been tried by now. Sparrows with guns, at least. Yeah, that would be a whole different animal, because then you got people driving around in PvP with Mario Kart. But
Yes.
it would be hilarious, though. But yeah, it's like, for the state of PvP as a mid-level PvP player, I've always played some. Never taken it too hardcore. I've been to the Lighthouse 1 or 2 times, mostly just because I've been carried there. Never made it really myself. The double Mercy thing might actually be a chance for me to try if I have some decent... Since I'm no longer facing 3 stacks, it might be an option.
Nice.
I'd like to try at least. Cog actually went. He went to the Lighthouse solo flawless this past week, and I was like,
Freelance?
yeah,
That's
I think
funny.
so. So he got that one all on his own. So I was actually kind of wanting him to be on here for this discussion, but we'll get to that later. But yeah, I mean, I've always enjoyed PvP because it is one of those things that you can take it as serious as you want in this game, and they are getting better at giving more hardcore places to dive into it if you want to. And that's why some people are like, I know Trials has been kind of a hot button for you, Travis, for a while. It is a shell of what it used to be. It's not quite the same, but it is a different mentality when I step in there. Even for me, if I go in as a solo player, I definitely take it more seriously than quick play, where I'm just like throwing my body literally at the wall half the time. Where I'm just like, I will sacrifice my body to try and get that that objective, or just, you know, trade kills. And if I'm not thinking about it too much, I will take it a little different. So just playing Trials and just, you know, just the 60-40 rule, just to play my position a little better. It's like, or if I pay attention and be like, wonder why I died there. I was in the middle of the open. Just little things that I start noticing for me help when I play something like Trials a little bit more. It's like, hey, here's this. Where are people coming from? Pay attention to the radar. It helps, but also I know for somebody who's wants it to be 3v3, talking, intense, hardcore, it's not quite the same. Comp is trying.
Yeah, I'm okay with it at this
Yeah.
point. Like, you know, a couple years ago, was it over 1 year ago? I can't remember when it was, but
Yeah.
when that change was made, it felt like they were giving up on a mode that I really wished that they would have put more time into developing and making it work. Because I still believe that it could work if they wanted to develop that, and they basically just said, no, we're not going to even try anymore. We're going to do this other thing, and it's not really the mode that I fell in love with. It's not the same Trials mode, but at this point, you know, it belongs to a different group of people, and it is a different thing, and you know, it is what it is. So I'm happy
Yeah.
that more people are playing it. I'm happy that that it's kind of starting to get its own little identity, and people are feeling good about it. And you know, Cog is able to just like log on and solo queue and get his way to Lighthouse. That's cool. Glad to see it. But yeah, there'll always be like a little, you know, place in my heart for like OG Trials and what that
Yeah.
was. But I just think that's just not the game that Destiny is anymore, and for better or for worse. So
Yeah. Well, Sep, as we kind of get towards the end of the show, I wanted to ask you, as just kind of on the current state of Destiny with regards to Lightfall, where things are settling out, as we're like, you know, 4 or 5 weeks into the season. Where are you with kind of the state of, you know, where does this next year look for you? Are you optimistic? Are you kind of negative on it? And then also, if you had a wish for PvP, if you had a Bungie please and they would actually listen to you and just put it straight in the game, what would that be?
Bungie, please.
Oh man, just a wish, huh?
One or
So,
two.
so as far as the competitive playlist goes, I do want them to give ladder based a go. I think Bungie has a little bit of a stubbornness when it comes to things that they come up with, where they're like, "Nope, this is how we're doing it. We're not trying it any other way." So I really wish that they would get out of the comfort zone as far as that goes, and you know, be willing to do maybe what other games are traditionally doing. They can always add their own spin on it, but I feel like they're pretty prideful when it comes to like the new Crucible modes and like the checkmate buff, whatever that will be when it's coming, where they're like, nope, Destiny has to be completely unique. And I'm like, it's already a very unique game in how it plays. You know, it would be nice if we took and added some things to it that, you know, are successful in other games, or things that we've seen work in Halo, things that the old Bungie made, you know. I think that would be really nice to see in PvP. The reason I want to see ladder based for competitive is specifically because I think that would lead into leaderboards, and that is something that the PvP players have wanted for a while. Just a number to strive for. At the end of the day, that's really all Destiny. That's why we all love Destiny. Is this is just one big number go up simulator that we've all fallen for. And we all want the shiny things at the end of the tunnel. So having cosmetics like an emblem every season, that was a really great addition that I'm really happy to see. As far as like a big wish for changes in the Crucible, I want genuine love to the party mode side of Destiny. I think Mayhem is an extremely boring idea. It's just, taking what Destiny already was and adding, a shorter timer to it. I think that we can see Bungie be a lot more creative when it comes to
It's
things
a
like that.
cooldown setting. It's
Yeah,
literally
it's literally a cooldown setting. I want to see love to the party game modes, and I want to see a lot of love to private matches. I think that
Could they actually be custom games as opposed to private matches?
Yeah, actual custom games, actual like modifiers, a whole bunch of settings that you could change, or weapon lockouts for like people running tournaments, things like that. Just a lot more settings as far as private matches go. I think would go a long way for the PvP players, especially in content creation. I think that would be really nice to see. But as far as the direction, I think the direction's good. Lightfall's success, I think the biggest problem with Lightfall is the price tag. I think it was, if they priced it at, what was Shadowkeep? Shadowkeep was like a $30 DLC, I believe. If it was like around that, I think that would have been like more reasonable to set expectations differently. I think everyone had a lot of expectation for Lightfall because it was like, oh, we're finally going to battle with the Witness, and we're finally getting all these things. We're getting this crazy new subclass. And although the subclass, it feels great, it's not exactly got a lot of damage to it, so people aren't like using it a ton in PvE. And since it is more movement based, a lot of people aren't using it in PvP because it doesn't exactly give them that edge. It's just something that a few of us are like really learning to have fun with. So although that Lightfall has a lot of quirks and it is overall enjoyable for me, it just wasn't a lot. I think that that's the biggest problem with Lightfall is it was some good quality, but not a lot of quantity. And it just, it takes you back to like other DLCs where you're like, man, I was playing for the first 2 weeks in Witch Queen, but in Lightfall day 2, I'm like, oh, I don't really know what to do. So it was just, it was kind of like a weird, confusing time for a lot of players. So I don't think we're going to see a huge population drop from here. I think we're just going to see our pretty normal, like, players will go down for the next like 4 months and then back up because of the hype for Final Shape. I think as far as the health of the game, I'm not worried. Destiny has this weird habit of dying and coming back to life over and over, and it's the way the game is and always has been. And I think that as far as the storytelling standpoint, a lot of people are going to come back for a Season of the Deep because that's kind of everyone's favorite kind of stories when it's more about the Hive and the Taken and all that stuff. So I think we're going to see a nice influx of players next season that might enjoy. I think some of us might enjoy the season and the dungeon more than Lightfall, to be honest, just because of the theme alone, if they do a decent job with storytelling. So
I forgot that's dungeon time. Yeah, that's always exciting.
Yeah. I think if they nail the theme
loves
correctly, I think that might actually have a pretty decent influx in players. So as far as like health of the game, state of the game for the next year, I'm not worried. But I am hoping that we keep going in the direction that we are going as far as PvP goes. And we don't just settle at like, okay, cool, they're happy, moving on.
Like, all right, we got him to shut up for 5 minutes. Go do something else.
You guys like the emblem? All right, bye.
Yeah. Here's your one. Yeah, that's kind of the hope. I appreciate that it would be a continual discussion point now. Is it starting to be a little bit more frequent that we hear about Crucible, that it's mentioned in like, the state of the game here, and that like a little bit more. Gambit should just probably be a private match thing at this point. Not part of really anything. If you want to go play it, you can, but it doesn't really need to be tied to anything. But yeah, the fact that Crucible is getting some focus, the map thing still kind of blows my mind a little bit. But other than that, yeah, it was the fact that we knew early on, like Lightfall got one strike, and we get one new PvP map in, what is it, season 22 or 23 when we finally get that Vex Network one. It's going to be way later, and we still don't even have a Europa one. So maps would be nice. Maybe that will come in time, but yeah, hopefully in about 2 years we see this PvP game that they've probably been working on in the background. Seems like it's coming. What are you shaking your head at, Travis?
Just the state of PvP.
Yeah.
The map specifically.
Silly,
Yeah.
goofy, and fun.
Yep. Well, anything
cool.
else?
Good.
No? Yeah, somehow turned a PvP week into a full 2-hour podcast. Somehow we do that every time.
I mean, yeah, that's
What we do.
I'm here for.
So
Yeah.
little and so much to talk about.
Oh, I know. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, oh, you want to talk about what game modes could possibly exist? That's a whole podcast. Like, there's so much you could do. Yeah, just trying to see what Bungie will actually do is always the fun part. Well, Sep, it's been a pleasure chatting with you. I know Cog wishes he was here. He's roaming around the halls of PAX East, wherever that thing's located. I always forget where it's actually at.
Like Philly, I
Um,
think.
Appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. But as we wrap up, this is kind of the time for the floor is yours to tell people where to find you for your content, streams, Instagram, TikTok, if you got anything else. But maybe don't drop your OnlyFans here, but everything else is probably fine.
Not here? Okay. Well,
you can
maybe
drop your
link it.
OnlyFans.
I mean, if you want
so,
to.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So
Sex
I
work
do
is
stream
work.
on Twitch about 6 days a week. I am doing almost exclusively PvP content. I do PvE content as well, but I stream mostly in the evenings and nights. I do have a YouTube channel that I upload to pretty regularly. Recently, it's been a little awkward as far as the timing go, but I've been pretty consistent with it with I believe a couple hundred videos. So I'm really proud of that. And then I am always on Twitter to the point of an addiction. So you guys can
Oh.
pretty much find me in all those places.
Have you gone Twitter blue? Are you blue?
Oh God, no. My stubbornness will not allow me.
No.
You're like, I will use my own third-party authenticator app. I will not get it for you.
Well,
Yeah.
also they're taking the check mark away from
I
verified
saw
users,
that.
which,
Yeah.
which now, like, if you buy it, it actually is useless. Because before you could buy it and like try to pretend like you had clout, but like now that the president of the United States isn't going to be verified.
What a goofy blue app.
Yeah, it's so dumb. So
It's a journey to watch this trash fire continue to roll forward, but it's something.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, for anybody listening, please definitely go check him out. If you want to see how a hunter can move at a very high level, that alone will probably keep you interested in those streams because you'll be like, well, this is what I want to hopefully be able to do someday.
Oh, it's very fun. I'll teach you all the tricks.
There you go.
would be
Travis,
nice.
what do you got in the works? You playing more Diablo this weekend? Do you actually get a break this weekend?
I do not get a break. No. So the Diablo review in progress. What we're doing is we're just like putting out our impressions as often as we can. So I put out a video and an article this week that's sort of my impressions of the first weekend, and then I'm doing it again after this coming weekend. So I'm going to have an update on all of the new stuff I saw and played. So Necromancer talk, Druid talk, anything else I find or think of that I didn't get to talk about in the first article. And then leading into the final review, I'm going to do it again. Once I have access to the entire full game, then I'm going to play through every single ounce of content they give me and then do the review. So yeah, I'm plenty busy with that. And then also at GCX this week, I played a bunch of games. I played a game called Crash Team Rumble, which is a Crash Bandicoot multiplayer game that's pretty entertaining. You can read my preview on that. And then I'm going to have a preview for a game called Endless Dungeon go live next week. And then also we've got the conclusion to the month-long coverage of IGN's cover story this month about Revenant 2. This week we put out some footage of a boss fight, the Mothermind.
I saw
that's pretty good.
What is it? The game director who somebody tweeted about the coverage or something? I saw that today.
Yeah. So what happened was he provided the footage and he forgot to turn off God mode for part of it, so you can see the character getting hit and not taking damage. And the reason he felt like he had to comment on it is because everybody was commenting on YouTube going, oh wow, IGN turned on journalist mode and they don't know how to play video games and stuff like that. And obviously I was like in there in the comments being like, okay, calm down. We didn't record this footage. I don't even know how to turn on God mode. Like,
Yeah.
you need to sit down." But he felt bad, so he commented on Twitter to let everybody know that it was his fault. He's a great guy. We've been buddies on Discord the past couple weeks. And then next week, we're concluding the coverage as the month comes to a close. I'm going to have one final article that is a full preview of Remnant 2, and I'll be able to talk about 80% of what I saw in the Gunfire Games office, and kind of open the kimono on everything that I'm allowed to talk about. And I may also be doing an AMA on the Reddit for Remnant 2 as well, where people can just ask me questions about the game. So it's been super fun doing IG at first, super exhausting, especially since it coincided with GCX and the Destiny review, and now the Diablo double review impressions pieces. But it's been a super cool month, and I'm excited to play more Destiny as well once I'm done with Diablo this weekend and have more time.
Well, it does. I can only imagine the traffic on your guys' side for Diablo and probably everywhere right now, because when that thing drops in June, feel sorry for Destiny, honestly, because the new season, like Season of the Deep, is going to be cool. And I feel like when they do the dungeons, it's always like the first couple of weeks, maybe third week, they might drop a dungeon. So it's usually pretty early, so people get time to play it. And that is quite literally going to be damn near the exact same time Diablo drops. So I'm really not looking forward to that timing of both, but definitely looking forward to playing. It's like impossible to cover that game in Destiny.
So excited to play Diablo. I'm so
Did
sad
you
to
play
hear
a
that
little
it's
bit?
frying 3080 Ti, so I have not touched it yet.
Wait,
Oh, you haven't? Yeah.
why specifically 3080 Ti's? Is there something memory-wise?
Well, it's the same problem that a lot of games that are coming out have, where when you launch it, they don't cap the frames,
I know
so
what you
you'll
mean.
run at 4,000 frames and your card will die.
Yep.
I don't know why it's happening to only 3080 Ti's, but that just happens to be the card of the week, I guess.
I was gonna say I knew 4090s had the issue kind of on their launch with the cord and everything, but the 30s don't have the same cord. So I know what you mean on the frame rate cap though. Like you could do you
New
go into
World
the
had that
control?
issue for a while too.
That was the one that did it. New World had the issue. Do you go into the control panel and just like hard cap it there for literally everything? You could do that.
Oh yeah, I have that, but I don't think it'll actually cap your graphics card though, will it? I think your graphics card will still try to push past it.
No.
Because like in Destiny, I'll still run 600 frames even though I have the cap in the control panel. Because the cap's just for I think it's just choosing your monitor refresh rate, isn't it?
Oh, I'd have to look into it and see again. I thought that was an option that would help, but yeah, the hard-coded settings in the game, of course, could override it. It's an option.
I'll just play the most recent Diablo 3 season until
season 28. It's actually good. Season 28.
I heard they have like skill trees and stuff. I haven't tried it yet.
It's cool. Yeah, my impressions of Diablo 4 though, in case you're curious, are it's really damn good.
Yeah.
Much better than I was expecting.
That's good.
Yeah, you can hear it in my video. Oh yeah, I also accidentally called Lilith the Lord of Hatred instead of the Daughter of Hatred in my video review.
Oh,
and
no, totally got just destroyed for that.
Nobody will ever let me live that down.
Yes.
I wrote Daughter of Hatred in my review. I just said it wrong in the VO, and so that's been hilarious. And yeah, it's fun being on the internet, isn't it?
Yeah,
so
you miss
great.
you
You
miss
say
me.
one thing wrong and it sticks forever.
Yeah, dude.
I called
it's
Roar the Bear, Roar the Boar, and it's still sticking around. I'm like, it just makes more sense.
Roar of the boar as opposed to roar of the bear.
Do you have any idea how many lores I have to keep straight in my head at one time? Like, you know, you're working on a different game every couple minutes, and they all use these made up ass words, and it's just it's brutal sometimes. People do not let you off for the slight mispronunciation in your VO and stuff like that. So it's just funny. Yeah.
Yeah, I will be trying to both play Destiny and Diablo at the same time, which I just need about 4 sets of hands and 4 eyeballs for. But that is
good luck.
Yeah, I know. Honestly, like, I mean, I played Monday and snuck in a few hours, like when everybody was basically asleep or napping over the weekend because I had family in town. So I got to like level 12 or 13 on the Sorcerer. And there was one point in exploring, I found an area that was like level 15. It was like 3 sister succubus or bosses, like 3 sisters in a little area. I was getting my ass kicked at like level 11 against 15. I was like, I'm going to have to come back later. So it's just one of those moments where I'm going, yeah, your level's going to make a difference. So if you...
Well, that's interesting because the way I understand it is that the world does level with you. that there's not areas where you can walk up to and just get your butt kicked, but maybe it was like a public event or a higher level activity, because there's certain activities that are level locked. But
It
I
was
think
like this
most of the
one.
world levels with you.
Most of it seemed to be fine. It was this one area, and I'll probably have it like marked on my map when I go back in. There was one area I got to, and I was like level 11. I was running around everywhere and doing just probably exploring, just trying to fill out the map a little bit. But I got to one point, and then it was an area of a town, and you would go into each of the houses, and you would there was like a kind of a demonic altar, and every time you'd break the altar, it would like spawn some ads. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah.
But I was 11 and it was 15, and I was like basically kiting everything to kill it all, and I could eventually get it all dead by kiting it and kind of running away and then spawn the next house and do the same thing. But when you go into the arena with the three boss ladies or whatever they were, I couldn't go that far, and I was just getting worked. It was like I found a place when I was over level. I was like, okay, yep. But I got, even in my short time, I got 1 legendary. No, I got 2. Yeah, and they are going to be the things to go for, because, man, you see like 4 things line up, 2 levels on a skill. Yeah, Diablo, the addiction may be back. I honestly think if you're worried about Diablo, open beta is free to completely everybody this weekend. Try it, but I warn you, you may get addicted, because I think they're going to nail this one so far. Now, we'll see, but I think this one definitely has potential to give you a solid 40, 50 hours for a campaign and some in-game, depending on how deep you want to go, and Paragon levels and all that stuff.
Which would be nice, because I just assumed that it was going to be awful on launch, like Diablo 3, and then it'll be great in like 2 years. Yeah. I'm like, no, Diablo 4 is going to be an amazing game eventually. I'm like, I don't know if it's going to be good yet.
No, that's sort of, it's funny. IGN actually gave Diablo 3 at launch a 10 out of 10.
Ah, yes, I love bias.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, that
game was horrendous at launch.
It's not about bias. It's like, whoever played it, I believe that they thought that. I just would not have been my score at all. So
no, I don't think it would have been anybody.
I'm worried that even if Diablo 4 is amazing, I'm gonna give it less than a 10, and then people will do that thing they always do, which is go, oh my god, you gave Diablo 3 a 10 and Diablo 4 is a 9, or whatever the score ends up being.
Yeah, but you didn't review that one, so different.
I didn't review that game. Yeah, and the hindsight's 2020. I would wonder if the person who reviewed that would stand by that 10 now, because I don't know. I mean, clearly they were a fan and they had fun. I believe that they felt it was a 10 at the time, but like that's like, I watched that review, I was like, damn, this is crazy. I would not have voted. I would not have given that a 10. So
it didn't seem like it was quite there, but
no.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we got an interesting time coming up. Unreal Engine looks like it's just going to be making real life people soon. So yeah, lots of fun stuff to look forward to. And then Destiny is going to keep trucking along, doing its thing, and we'll be here for it.
Destiny will be Destiny. I'm really hoping next season does some fantastic things. I think it could.
Got a lot of potential between Season of the Deep and a dungeon and lore, and if they can keep the PvP,
they're gonna kill off the gunsmith. He's gonna get killed by a random, Vex.
Kill off Banshee. He gets killed by his own sword Lament, and then all of a sudden it's just like all meta. Yeah. Well, Seb, thank you. The outros kind of went a little long there, but that's kind of how it goes sometimes. Thank you so much for your time. It was an absolute pleasure. But as we wrap up this episode, make sure all of you guys go follow him, watch his streams, go look how PvP should be done, as opposed to if you ever see me playing it. And to everybody out there, for this episode as we wrap it up, episode number 242 for March 23rd. Getting into April, this year is moving right along. So thank you guys very much. And for this episode, it has been
The Last Word.
The Last Word.